And here we go.
5, 4, 3.
Call to me, lands far away.
Elves have forests to protect.
We need to build a wall.
Dwarfs their mines. Men their fields of grain. But we Harfoots have each other.
For I must now wander this wandering day.
We're safe.
You have fought long enough, Galadriel.
No.
Put up your sword.
The enemy is still out there. The question now is where?
It is over.
Nothing is over! Nothing! You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
Darkness will march over the face of the earth. It will be the end, not just of our people, but all peoples.
Everyone!
I am sorry, but their time has come.
The past is with us all. The past is dead. We either move forward or we die with it.
This could be the beginning of a new era.
Away I must wander this wandering day.
To him finally being lionized in the prime, in his prime. Fuck.
Do it!
Shit.
Just do it! Don't let your dreams end. Yesterday, you said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams come true!
Luke went from being, oh no. Welcome, Slayer Nation. I have some great news for you today. I hope you're all doing great. Nope, that didn't work. One more.
You have failed me for the last time.
Welcome, Slayer Nation. I hope.
If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up.
That is eating away at what you love in order for it to shine. And one man's vision is... Sometimes you don't have to make things better for them to be great again. You merely have to Okay. Hollywood continues to slow boil the culture and crazy. Well, right now, Spider-Man actor Andrew Garfield has stepped up and he's fighting motherfucker.
I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
And unbearded dwarves, but Prime didn't stop there. They stapled in intersectionality, individuality, biddiga-dig-bee, biddiga-dig-boo.
So it begins.
At my signal, unleash hell.
and gentlemen, George the Giant Slayer.
Oh, welcome back, everybody, to Slayer Nation Live. I'm your host, George Molho. It's July 13th, 2025, in the year of our Lord. How are you doing today? It's great to see you. We have a lot to talk about. I can see my favorite people are here. Razorburn, Hong Kong Fooey, Istophobos, my brother from another mother, Aaron Charman. So many beautiful people, and Julia Powers. You know, there's Superman versus Superman this week. Which one is the real one? It just opened over the weekend. Plus, we have a Red Sonja trailer that came out. Naked Gun, the reboot, is going to be here August. But today it's really more about Hollywood. Like, how is Hollywood either representing the culture, or how are they trying to poison it or program it for the new era so they can have control of the future? Because we have a very special guest joining us for the very first time. And I can't wait for you to meet him. So we're just going to get right down to it. I'm going to bring out the panel, and then we will meet our guests. We got Verbal Riot is joining us, as always, my co-host. How you doing, Dante?
Doing good, man. Doing really good.
That's beautiful. All right. We also got GoodLawgic. Joe is in the house.
Good afternoon, everyone. How you guys doing?
Wonderful. Wonderful to see you. It's been a while since we've streamed. Happy to have you.
Belated happy birthday. I apologize. I was supposed to be last week, but
I appreciate it. Hey, it's warming. Touch my heart. We also got Tom from Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark, and my favorite comedian in the world, Paul Chato. How you doing, Tom?
Well, that's nice to be here. Although I have to say that I had to get out of the pool to do this show, and it's 87 degrees. So,
hi, Tom. I'm Paul.
So you can feel like we are in Texas, even though it's thundering and storming outside. Again,
I'm going to go back to the pool afterwards.
Okay. Now, everybody, I want you to meet a very special guest. He doesn't need any introduction. It's his first time here on Slayer Nation. This is someone who has earned it. He deserves it. He has bled and sweat to make this country better. He is a guy who didn't just walk away. He ran through the fire, lit a torch, and then handed it to everyone. He didn't just found a movement. He's the breaker of narratives and the absolute worst nightmare for woke gatekeepers everywhere. Everybody give a big Slayer Nation welcome to the one and only unbeatable Brandon Straka.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Nice. Well deserved.
How are you doing? Great to have you here.
Well, I'm great. That was a very nice introduction, perhaps a little bit exaggerated, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I don't know, after everything you went through, especially with the 6 and everybody coming after you, I think you've raised the bar for what it is.
Well, that'll definitely give you. It's funny because there's a lot of like influencers and people on the right who love to talk about how abused and brutalized they are, and I'm like, you guys haven't been through anything compared to, a lot of these are like, oh, I got banned from PayPal. Oh, I'm like, dude, I got banned from everything right. And put in jail and falsely accused of a crime. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey for sure, but in a better place today than I was a few years ago. That's for sure.
Well, thank God. I wanted to show everybody. I found this old speech that you were giving with some clips. I wanted to share it with everyone. It kind of like sums up your journey or at least brings us to where you started from in the first 2 minutes.
But as the days following the election passed, I began to realize it wasn't really me that I was devastated for. I just really feel sad. The death of a dream, which was getting to see our first woman president take office. And I've been a long-time Hillary fan and Hillary supporter, and I didn't realize how much I wanted this for her until Wednesday. I'm finding myself feeling just crushed for her. This must have meant the world to her, and acceptance that it's not going to happen. I hope that people will see her more clearly and not sort of as the monster that she's been made out to be by certain press agencies and the way she's been villainized. But see somebody who really believes in America.
And then we go, and then we catch up. Because that was November. It was November 2016, correct? That was when you made that?
Yeah. That was like a week after the election.
All right, and then we come here.
This.
Once upon a time, I was a liberal.
I started Walk Away because I had a genuine experience that shook me to my core and turned my life upside down. The experience began in 2017 with the startling realization that almost everything I believed in my entire life was actually nothing more than a carefully constructed narrative installed into public consciousness with meticulous deceit by the entertainment industry, the media, and various systems of propaganda in our culture. When I realized that not only was I being lied to, but that the Democrats and the media had concocted a formula to control minority communities in this country through a steady diet of fear-mongering and deception, I became outraged, and I decided to do something about it. So on May 26th of 2018, I launched an idea. Nothing like it had ever been done before.
And so here we are. How's it going? It seems like you're getting people every day.
No, I mean, honestly, especially considering everything that we've been through for the last 4 years, it's things are, I think, really great. And one of the things, so like to kind of sum up a little bit for your audience, maybe who are, maybe if they're not familiar. So I started Walk Away in May of 2018, and I launched it as a Facebook group. Initially, I created a 6-minute video talking about all the reasons why I was walking away from liberalism and the Democratic Party. And then I launched a Facebook group basically saying, like, if anyone else out there is feeling the same way I'm feeling, please, join the group, share your story. And over the course of the next 2.5 years, we grew to over 500,000 people, and like thousands and thousands of people submitted their videos and their written testimonials talking about why they were also walking away from the Democratic Party. And then I parlayed that group into an organization. So we have actually multiple organizations, but the Walkway Foundation, the Walkway Campaign PAC. And so we started going around the country, then talking in colleges. And I put a lot of focus on minority communities, doing events for the Black community, Hispanic community, LGBT community, and things like that. And we have just continued to grow and grow. But then, as you pointed out, in January of 2021, I was raided by the FBI. I was arrested and I was put in jail, and I was charged and accused of numerous crimes for January 6th, none of which I actually did or committed. But given the position that I was in, I ended up pleading guilty to a misdemeanor, which given the options before me, I don't regret that. But at the time, the advice I was given by my attorneys was that it was like no big deal. They were like, it's a low level misdemeanor. It's a step above a citation. It's not going to ruin your life, and the alternative here is to go to trial in DC, where you're almost guaranteed to be found guilty before
you're doomed. You're doomed.
Exactly. So I pled guilty at the time, thinking it was the cleanest way out, but there was like no clean way out of January 6th. So even though it was like a low level misdemeanor and it was basically like a non-crime, by virtue of pleading guilty, I became part of the insurrection and that narrative. And so then we just started getting banned by literally everything. I mean, PayPal, Venmo, Stripe, Facebook banned our group after it had grown to over 500,000 people. I was banned from different social media platforms. I mean, just like everything that you can imagine. So this is a very long answer to your question, but I'm very, very proud of the fact that we have survived and stayed on, and we still have donors and we still have support, and we're still doing events and we're still growing. And in fact, I'll say too that about a year to a year and a half, about a year ago, the Attorney General in the state that I'm currently living in, which is Nebraska, got involved in my case and actually we're going to be getting our Facebook group back and our community back because they took legal action against Meta. And so we're actually beginning the process now of reclaiming a lot of what was taken from us. So we're probably not in the same position we would have been in had none of this happened, but I'm extremely proud of the fact that we're still here and we're still growing.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled that Cackles didn't win. If Kamala had won, only God knows what would have happened. I mean, I can't imagine what it would have been like. But yeah, that's why I have a great deal of respect for you, everything you've been through. It's something we always talk here on Sundays, especially. We talk about, I've tried to show what's going on through our culture by talking about both film, Hollywood, and then politics, because I think they've become so interconnected. And I was curious. What, you have a question, Joe?
I have a bunch of questions for Brandon.
Okay, well, you go first.
So curious. I have so many different questions. My first question is, what are like the 3 most common reasons you hear from people who decide to walk away? What is the tilting factor that they're like, okay, I'm done here and I want to move on from what I've been doing?
Well, so I often say that the most common theme in every walkaway story that we get, no matter when the person walked away or what their specific circumstances or reasons were, the number one common theme in every story is betrayal. It's the realization, waking up one day, something triggered something to make these people realize that the party or the media or the ideology that they've been subscribing to for so long is dishonest and deceptive, but also really taking advantage of them. Because the thing is, including myself, as you saw me, it's super embarrassing watching those videos now of me like having a breakdown about Hillary Clinton. But the thing is, and it's okay to laugh about it, by the way, like, I mean, I do too, but it is very embarrassing. But the thing is, I became a liberal, as so many other people that become liberals, because I thought I was a part of something that was going to make the world a better place. And I thought that because I really believed the mainstream media narratives and the narratives being passed down by the Democrats that, we live in this country that's unfair if you're a person of color, or, I mean, I don't just mean unfair, but systematically oppressive towards people like this, that is designed to hold people down, and that people on the right are greedy, self-interested, straight white people who just only care about other greedy, self-interested, straight white people and wish to harm and oppress other people, And so my fight as a liberal was about trying to bring more freedom, more liberty, more opportunity to other people. And I was kind of all in. And then once you kind of get behind a cause or a number of causes, you kind of become entangled in the whole system, and you're expected to get behind climate change and the liberal view on abortion.
Can I stop for 1 second? That's not the definition of liberal. And I wish you'd stop using that. Americans have this weird idea of liberalism as being close to Marxism. It's not. It's actually closer to what you are espousing.
Yes.
That is pure liberalism.
But that's
exactly who you are right now.
But Paul, that's
pure liberalism.
But that's what it's become.
Been redefined.
Right.
It's
been utterly
just
redefined.
saying that, don't twist. I mean, anyway, I'm not trying to, get angry.
It's okay, Paul, but it's today. I think today the thing is, and we've had this discussion before, liberal is no longer what it was 40 years ago or 50 years ago. I think we could all agree with that. It's leftism.
Well, then call it what it is. Let the term liberalism stay as what it's supposed to be, and call it, leftism, wokeism, Marxism, whatever you want to call it. There are other labels for things. Liberalism actually tends to be slightly right of center in its purest form.
Right, but I think it's gone. And I think, Brandon, you can tell us, you can attest to it. Liberalism as you see it today, right? It's been co-opted by what I would call socialist Marxists or radicals.
Except none of the socialist Marxists call themselves liberals, ironically.
Right. The ones who have guts, like you have in the Big Apple, Zoran Mandani, he'll say what he is. But a lot of others, again, that's why I'm asking Brandon, do you think that's correct? Do you think a lot of people hide under the veil of liberalism when they're actually radicals?
Well, I do believe that some people do, but I also believe it's, a lot like sort of the analogy of the frog in the boiling pot. I think that for a lot of people who maybe see themselves as more centrist or common sense or, like a classical liberal, okay, fine. But the problem is I think that the Overton window has shifted bit by bit by bit for so long that a lot of people who maybe identify as a classical liberal are not realizing that they're actually supporting a system that's become very much radicalized. And I don't think, whether they know it or they don't know it, they're certainly not speaking up against it or fighting against it. That's part of the reason why I created Walkaway, so people could just leave it, because I don't think that whatever it is at this point can be salvaged. I think it either needs to be eradicated and broken down or whatever. But I hear your point, Paul, loud and clear. And I do understand that perhaps well, I do think it's necessary to use correct and proper language. I'm not against that. I guess my feeling personally is, what is the point at this point of drawing this clear and distinct line when I don't think that there's that many people who are distancing themselves from leftism, who are identifying as liberals? I think whether they realize it or they don't, they're supporting the same system that's kind of being dragged further left by radical progressives, and they're not fighting against it.
Interestingly, I would say that both of you are almost talking about different stages in a development of most people, from being a child into developing their perspectives as an adult. Because I'm of a firm belief that we are born naturally leaning towards doing good things. That's where we feel comfortable, and especially if you come from a healthy environment of parents who love you and things of that nature, I think we're naturally inclinated in that direction. And liberalism in its purest form, as Paul is describing, is consistent with that, which is why I think that when you have high school students who start developing political perspectives, they're going to naturally be more liberal. What has happened, though, is that the Liberal Party, the Democratic Party, which was traditionally, at least for the last 50 years or so, supposedly the party of liberalism, that party has ultimately been hijacked. So what happens is that when you have a high school kid to go and getting into college and they start thinking about things, it used to be that it would be something that it's a matter of, I want to try and make the world a better place. I have certain blessings as being American. I want to make the world a better place. And then you start identifying with certain people that they are like-minded to me, and accordingly, I want to join up here. But then what ends up happening during the course of that development is you start losing sight as to when you've abandoned your liberal policies and how you're implementing these things, and start going over towards leftism, and it starts becoming an us versus them. We are the goodies, they are the baddies. Oh, sure. And that's what ends up happening. And it starts with a liberal perspective, but they don't realize, like Brandon is describing, that they are the frog in the boiling pot, and that they'll ultimately end up abandoning that classical traditional liberal perspective,
Sure,
and they become the evil that they're purporting to be fighting against.
I think the proper term, and I Brandon, you can use whatever term you're comfortable with. Honestly, I wasn't trying to jump all over you, but I think progressivism actually is the most perfect term, because one of the key aspects, and as you've described, is that liberalism can be the gateway drug to progressivism. I think that's the point that you're trying to make, and people abandon the one key tenet of liberalism is individual rights and individual responsibility. That's actually part of liberalism, which is not part of progressivism. Progressivism is groupthink. You are now stratified not along class. You're stratified with race and type. Anyway, I don't want to get into that.
No, that's good.
I like what Brandon is saying. I don't want him to. Don't interrupt him. I think what he's doing is, it's really interesting. I want to continue listening to this, but I like progressive. I think progressive is the evil, shift term. So anyway, but call it liberal if you want.
What I'm really curious about as part of your journey, do the stories seem to be the same? Do they echo or resonate with you along what made you decide to walk away?
Very much so. I mean, to the point where there are times when I watch people's walkaway stories, especially like really new ones. People maybe in 2025, they've walked away and they're sharing their stories. And sometimes I'll watch them and I'll go, did this person just watch my video and like copy what I'm saying? But they didn't. But it's kind of amazing. And in a way, it's sort of like takes you back, because I remember exactly how I felt. I actually walked away in 2017, very shortly after the 2016 election, but I didn't start the organization or the movement until 2018. So there was kind of like a year of 2017 where I had my own personal walkaway journey, but no one knew who I was. And it was really lonely. And I mean, I lost
friends, family. Yeah.
Oh, but like more than 90%. And that's the truth. So I lost more than, I'd say, 90% of my friends. I lost a lot of family. I stopped getting invited to stuff. I started having friends from childhood attacking me on social media, just saying terrible things about me. And that's part of the reason why I decided to do this, because I was just sort of like, God, it's a shame that there's not like a community for people to come together when they kind of lose everything, because it's a lot like leaving a cult, as I often say.
It's become perfectly us versus them. It's become completely us versus them, and frankly, that's not the way it was when I was growing up. I'm an old man now. When I was growing up, we can understand that people on the other side of the political debate are genuinely interested in bettering America. They just have a different vision as to what that is. I think we started to really see that under Obama, which is why I consider him the most divisive person in American history. Because instead of it being about well, you think that this will be better, that'll be better, he was very insidious, never calling the other side racist, but he would continually be implying the reason people wouldn't be voting for him is because they're just not comfortable with people who look different than them. The reason they're against illegal immigration is because they're just not comfortable with people whose skin is a little darker than them. And he wouldn't say they're racist, but the only conclusion his followers can have, and his followers were legion and dedicated, looking at him as almost a messianic figure, was the other side is filled with racists and deplorables, which is why in 2016, when Hillary used that term, the basket of deplorables, to her own audience, she knew that would resonate. She knew that they all were agreeing with that because they've been hearing that for 8 years from Obama, where instead of it being that they just disagree with us about what's healthy, it's that they are motivated by a terrible, evil motivation, their own selfishness, their own greed, their own racism, their own insecurities. They're not as enlightened as us, and they're just bad people. And you don't negotiate with bad people. You try and clamp them down and silence them and shut them up every way imaginable. And that becomes justifiable because they are the Fourth Reich. That's essentially what the basket of deplorables was being compared to. And we got so tired of it, those of us who were on the right, that at a certain point we were just like, yeah, okay, we're the Fourth Reich. That's it. It's like we embrace deplorable but that's the shift. That's where you see that shift happening, where all of a sudden now it's not about politics, it's about a cult. And you're with us or against us.
But we've always had tribalism. And I think Brandon will agree, and maybe he's a member of this, is those of us who are liberals were actually forced farther right by the left. Suddenly we were on the farther right than we anticipated, only because
that's what happened to me, right? Like I was always somebody who considered myself somebody on the left, a Democrat lifelong, and then all of a sudden the left left me.
Yeah.
Right. It was like, okay, it was one thing to be like, look, I get it. Gay guys want to get married. Women want to get married. Fine. Nobody has a problem with that. Yes, you should have the same benefits as anybody else. You should have to put up with the same bullshit a normal married couple should. As far as like the right of choice, I used to be pro-choice as well. That wasn't until these motherfuckers would come up on the stage on the Oscars and go, if it wasn't for my abortion, I wouldn't have this Oscar today. Like, to me, that right there was the moment where I said, you motherfuckers lied to me for years. You said you weren't using it as birth control, and this bitch just stood there on national fucking TV live holding a fucking Oscar.
And getting applauded for that. Probably getting applauded for saying that.
And getting applauded for it, no less.
And if it wasn't for my mother's failed abortion, I wouldn't be here.
I think we hit, and I think probably Dante would agree. I think we hit our peak homeostasis. Like we hit the peak time of our culture was in the late 90s. What do you think about that, Brent? Like where everybody kind of like was go along, get along. Everybody,
I would even go early 2000s. I think that's probably when we were at our most normal, which I guess is a weird word to use for this, but
normal. Well, I
think we were. You know what it is? It's kind of funny. I kind of feel like where we peaked, right, as a nation, is when Obama, when they made gay marriage legal, right? It kind of just at that point we were all good. Yeah, I think we were all pretty good, right? Like, I'm not saying everybody was like for the gays or anything like that, because of what happened. But I think we reached a point where,
the most tolerant, I think, is what you're trying to say.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with it, right?
Do what you want to do. Basically, everyone do what you want to do.
We reached the point of everybody do you, right? We reached the point
tolerance was at an all-time high.
Live your life the way you want, and we were all good, right?
Yep, absolutely.
But see, that's the problem, right? It's like there's a term. And I guess I'm not going to say it, I'm not going to say the word, but my grandfather used to have a word, a thing he would say where he would say, if you give a N-word If you give an N-word a rope, he thinks he's a cowboy, right?
Oh.
And it's true. It's like you can't give them an inch, man. You can't give people an inch because they'll take that inch and they're like, well, I want another inch. I want another inch. And now all of a sudden it's like, hey, if you don't believe that I'm a woman, as a guy, then there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with society. And now I have to address men as women, right? So we can't just have nice things, right? Like we had gay marriage. It was legal. Everyone was okay. And I think that's when we were kind of at our peak, and it went all down from there.
It did. I want to share something before we get into Hollywood. Brandon, have you seen or heard? I'm sure you have, the floods that happened a week ago in Texas.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I heard in Canada that it was all Trump's fault.
Yeah, of course. In Canada, they would say no. They said that also here on the news, so that's nothing new. So what happened was, I want to show here a clip so everybody can see how fast the Guadalupe River rose just for a few seconds before I share these clips. So here it is. Let me just turn the volume off because it's real loud. So you see this. This is in a matter of 35 minutes. And then you get to here. There's the bridge. And that's where the bridge was in the beginning. See, right there. And we go all the way here, and it's just all the way up. So that happened in a matter of 35 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. Now, this has happened. There's one lady, she's named Sadie Perkins. I'm working on a video. It's because it's eating me up a lot. She lit a match that has brought out, it seems, every bottom feeder, not only wanting to raise their profile, get their shot of 15 minutes of fame, but it is showing, I think, what the decay is in society, not only the division. And so she shared a video where she attacked the children. She didn't give a damn. She says, oh, this is a white Christian camp for whites only. There's no token blacks. There's no token. These were her exact words now. So then she starts getting flack for it. The mayor of Houston removed her from a board. Her job is, removed her. It's just one thing after the other. And she keeps doubling down video after video. Here's her latest one from a couple of days ago. Because this, I think, shows the social contagion that has come from me, I believe, from the left. And I really want to know if Brandon believes it.
I got my live taken down. I guess I'll just chit-chat in a video. I mean, I don't understand all this, extraordinary hate or whatever. Like, I get that white people are not used to people telling them and calling them out on their racism and telling them about their double standards and how you wouldn't give a damn about other children and how there's children in ICE detention right now who y'all don't give two fucks about. There's no prayers going up for them. But we're supposed to stop the world and stop everything we're doing to go and hunt for these little missing white girls.
See, right there. When did we politicize children?
I think her weave is too tight.
I know. Besides her weave, I mean, I've rarely seen that we were attacking children outside of, abortionists who are putting on commercials every 5 seconds going, hey, I'm throwing a birthday party.
George, this is the tribalism.
But we're talking about children who are dead and missing.
Right. But this is the stratification based on race and color, not class. This is something that the left started in the 60s after they realized that the Marxist class struggle was failing because unionists were making lots of money and there was no way to make communism work in the United States. So they cleverly shifted, and this is all documented, to race and color stratification. We're seeing the product and result of this.
What's odd is it crosses
this nonsense.
It crosses every race, creed, and culture. Here's another. I mean, there's just too many of them to share.
Yep.
But I just wanted to give everybody an example.
It's a hard pill to swallow, huh? The fact that if you would have just voted for Kamala, that those kids in Texas and all those families in the RVs would more than likely still be alive. But instead, you just made fun of her laugh while people were screaming at you that if he was voted in, people were going to die. And look where we are. A bunch of parents who can't protect their own kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can somebody slap that little boy in the face, please?
Wow.
Really fucking hard.
I like
So where did they get the logic for this?
What were you saying, Brandon? Sorry.
No, I was just the first clip that you played with the girl. I like that she said that white people aren't used to getting called out on our racism, because that never happens. It's something that we never hear about. No, but I mean, this has been going on for a long time, and I think when the left established these rules, these illogical rules that the only people who are capable of being racist are white people, and other people can't be racist, then I don't know what we call that, because this type of behavior, if you literally just reverse it, like if you took the exact words and you change white to black and black to white, we would all be like, that's the most racist thing I've ever heard in my life. But it's like, a lot of these people on the left have just become conditioned to believe that they can engage in almost like a sociopathic, completely unempathetic emotional disconnect from white people, or talking about white children or white parents or anything, and that it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's like, we're not people. And they don't have to care about us. They don't have to feel any kind of thing about us in any way, shape, or form. And they're fine to say whatever they want to say, because they can't possibly be racist, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I see it literally all the time, because, I'm on the ground, like I said, going to colleges and doing these events and stuff. And obviously I'm not making sweeping generalizations about race. There's a lot of people of every race who are very empathetic and very caring people. But the people of other races besides Caucasian who happen to be more on the leftist scale tend to engage in this kind of rhetoric all the time, where it's blatantly clear they don't care if white people live or die. And there's almost, I think, sort of this sense of like, what's the word, righteousness about like, well, you get what you deserve because you're a cold-blooded racist, and this is what happens, when in fact they are the people engaging in the very racism that they're accusing us of.
I've seen more monsters come out in the last 7 days pretending to be heroes. There was one guy who came out, and he's now selling Camp Mystic merchandise, where it's like Camp Mystic swimmer, learn how to swim. Jesus is with you in the afterlife. Congratulations. Just crazy. I mean, it's like trying to send a message and profit off of children's death. And people are buying it up. That woman who I first showed, Sadie Perkins, she now has a Give, Send, Go account, raising $20,000 because she says she's the real victim, because she was attacked because she expressed her opinion.
Aren't these the Be Kind people?
Yeah, these are supposed to be the Be Kind people, but and she's married to a white preacher, which is hilarious on top of it. Which just, I was like, what? I mean, it's like she's attacking these children, and it's crazy. So here's one of the things that I'm really fascinated when Gothics comes on. It's always one of my first questions. How have you seen? Like, I blame a lot of this. Obviously, it's people's decision and the way the DNC is programming things, but I look at it through a lens of Hollywood, the way that they've been programming entertainment, how it's changed. It's changed since I was a little kid. Do you see that the way, whether it's big screen or your flat screen at home, do you see it having more of an impact on people?
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. First of all, it started out as this like very thinly veiled representation of leftist attitudes and viewpoints making its way into the storylines and the movies and the casting and everything else. But like now there's not even a thin veil anymore. I mean, as you know, like the Academy has actually put rules into place that, if you want to be considered for any awards or anything, you have to have X number of people of color, and you have to have X number of people with disabilities, and the plot lines have to revolve around these kind of stories and stuff. So there's this like totally prescribed method of movie making now that's literally entirely designed to try to push leftist ideology on people. And I guess for a certain amount of people, it works, or it reinforces the beliefs. It's a religion, it reinforces their religious belief.
It's restricted to now just the best movie. Initially, the document was for every single category, but now they've kind of ameliorated it and said, no, this is just for Best Picture. But the Best Picture nominations have been such crap. They're going to get rid of it for the Best Picture soon, Brandon. I'm absolutely certain. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you as a Canadian, one of the things that's really stark, because I believed in the mainstream media for such a long time, What a sham it is. That to me is of all the things out there, even beyond the movie business, the entertainment business, is just the mainstream medium is mainstream media is so transparently in cahoots with the Democrats.
Before we move to the media part real quick, I just want to say on the movie part of things, like we're finally getting confirmation of things that we've been reporting for years. And that is a lot of the reason they were shoving a lot of this DEI bullshit into movies is because they were getting guaranteed money from these organizations to do so. We have confirmation of that now. We've been saying it for years. We've been telling people this for years. But yeah, on the other side of this, the people who feed into this is media and the Hollywood media complex, which we've been doing a lot of coverage on lately. So yeah, to bring it back to what Paul was just saying. So,
sorry, Tom.
No, that's actually.
I just want to add that to that. That was.
Yeah, there was actually like an anecdote I wanted to share about the movie industry too before we move on, if I could.
Yes,
because I never get to tell this story. It's not that great of a story, but it's kind of funny.
There's a lot of buildup already, Brandon. A lot of buildup.
It better be good now.
No, it's decent. It's passable. No, I just remember, I think it was 2017 because it was very shortly after I started to the curtain had been lifted for me. And so I was like, and I always say, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so I was like seeing it everywhere. And if I think if you looked up, you would see 2017, Natalie Portman was in a movie. I can't remember what it was called. It was one word name. I can't remember, but it was a movie about this is a while ago. The details are a little fuzzy, but it was one of those, the world was at risk. Humanity was at risk and somebody had to save the world. Right.
V for Vendetta?
Nope. It was a one-word title. And it was kind of sci-fi, save the world kind of thing around 2017. I think it probably was 2017.
I don't know what he's talking about. I'm trying to remember the name of it too. Yeah.
Fletch. It was Fletch.
No, it was not Fletch.
Annihilation.
Yeah. That's what I think that's what it was. Annihilation. I went to see this movie with several friends. Some of them, I think all of them were still liberals because I was still kind of closeted about my newfound anti-liberalism and possibly conservatism at the time. But so the movie opens and there's this scene where Natalie Portman is playing a professor, and the camera this is literally the first scene. The camera's panning around the classroom and there's not a single white student in the classroom. Every type of world religion that you can imagine is represented. Every race you can imagine is represented. And then I think at the very end they show one white person who looks partially retarded, and is probably that white person is the DEI person. And so I'm already okay, I get what we're doing here. I get where this is headed. So then we discover that there's some sort of something's going on that puts the world at risk and somebody has to save the day. And all these people come together and decide that Natalie Portman is the only person who can save the world, but that she needs a team behind her who can save the world. So she constructs the most qualified group of 5 people in the world, and they just all happen to be women. So it's all women. And then we meet the characters one by one by one. And it's one is a Hispanic lesbian. One is a black woman. So there's again, every type of diversity is represented in the 5 women who are going to save the world. And when we met the characters and we saw their backgrounds, and this is within the first 20 minutes of the movie, I sat there and I didn't say anything because, again, I was sitting there with liberals, but I was I know literally exactly. I know the order everyone's going to die in. Right. I know exactly who's going to end up saving. And then that is literally exactly what happened. All the characters died in exactly the order that I predicted. Of course, the black woman made it until the very, very end. But because Natalie Portman was the lead character, of course, the white woman had to save the world because she was the lead character. Because if they actually put a black woman as the lead character, a lot less people would have gone to go see it. I mean, it's just the truth. But anyway, so the movie unfolded exactly the way that I knew that it was going to. And I was like, this whole ideology it's retarded. It's literally retarded. And it completely sucked all the oxygen out of entertainment because I can now predict every single minute of the movie because I know exactly what has to happen based off of this ideology.
That's one of the worst things. But it's in your walkaway movement, do you ever go to high schools, reach them before as they're getting programmed before they turn into become
Are
part
you
of the
allowed to get into high schools?
No,
That's
where
the
you
thing.
can speak, where obviously the school invites you. That's what I'm.
That's the thing. Yeah. So it's, I want to do that very badly, but we've had trouble getting high schools to agree to let us in. But I'm excited because I just got an email about a month ago from a kid in Iowa who said he's the head of like a high school Republican group.
Good.
And I don't think I'm going to be allowed to like go and just speak to the student body, but at least I can go and speak to his group. And so we'll probably do that. I think it's very unlikely I'll ever be invited to speak unless it's like a very ultra conservative high school. But high schools tend to try to stay out of politics as much as possible. I mean, with the exception of like indoctrination curriculum.
Oh my God.
But colleges is a different story. You know, I do go in and speak at
Yeah, I
colleges.
see. I watch it all the time. Have you seen the latest? Because I know you've been running around trying to help anyone. Have you watched any films lately at the theater?
At
Anything
the
new?
theater. I'd have to really honestly, the last movie I may have seen in the theater might have been Reagan.
Reagan. Oh wow, that was a good one. That was
What
a good
do you
one.
think of Charlie Kirk's university work?
I mean, Turning Point.
Yeah, I think Charlie's really talented. And it's a tough question to answer because when I started Walkaway in 2018, you know, there was like, I think some tension and some friction. I feel mostly I was on the receiving end of that. At the time, Candace Owens was the communications director for Turning Point, and she just decided early on that she did not like me. And so there was kind of a clash and tension there. And I think that she really poisoned the well for me with a lot of those people. So I've met Charlie, I think just once backstage at an event. We had a pleasant exchange, but that was pretty early on. My feeling is that there's not really a lot of desire there to connect with me or what I'm doing, which I think is unfortunate. I mean, it's kind of a hard question to answer because I look at Charlie and I think he's really intelligent and really talented. And obviously what Turning Point is like, you know, it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenon. But I wish that there was more of a willingness on their part to, you know, cooperate, especially with, you know, and I don't like to like go around waving the J6 card. It's whatever, but like I have been through a lot and it would have been nice to have allies.
That support, of course. It would be. And that doesn't make any sense at all because you literally have someone who's going out. You have Kirk and Turning Point USA. They're going out and they're trying to bring people in to enlighten people, to answer their questions, to make it bigger so we can try to heal the country, heal the divide. And you are having people walk away. I mean, it's kind of like hand in glove. It really should be working with you. That
I know, but I think that behind the scenes, I don't think people see it that way. And when I look at something like, you know, Turning Point, at this point, there's something, I think they're bringing in like $80 million a year, maybe more. Right. It's just absolutely insane. Yeah. And, you know, my organization is bringing in much, much, much less than that. And so if I got to a point where I was bringing in 20 million a year, I wouldn't feel threatened by anybody. You know, I'd be like, I've got more than enough here to go out there and, you know, kick ass and change the world. So but I think that a lot of people view other organizations as competitive and, you know, people get worried about like, oh, well, if we give more visibility to someone else than our donors.
They're going to lose it. Yeah. That's bad.
Are you doing similar interventions?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Are you doing similar style interventions? I guess was where I was starting with that question.
I mean, I guess it could be construed as that, but my core mission is, you know, my teams that I go and speak with and my panels that I do were people who were former liberals, leftists, Democrats who walked away, and we're trying to get other liberal, leftist Democrats to walk away. And I view Turning Point more as like a more conservative driven organization trying to reinforce the values of conservatism to young conservative kids.
Rally the troops.
Yeah,
rally the troops rather than convince people to switch and to broaden their horizons to something new, like conservatism. But that actually, yeah.
And when Charlie,
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. And when Charlie, you know, when he goes on college campuses and stuff, that's, you know, he obviously is doing a lot of engaging and debating with people on the left. And I do think it's extremely helpful at times because he does a really phenomenal job, I think, at pointing out the lack of logic and liberal ideology and thought and stuff like that. I would say the only thing is that with Charlie, to me, it comes across as like there's such a desire to be right rather than to actually change hearts and minds and convert. You know what I mean? So, to me, it's sort of like he's sort of like about like owning the libs, and which has its value. But I think we would like to try to convert the libs and bring them over to our side.
Well, absolutely. You want people to open their eyes. It's like you want to walk them in there. It's an old teacher of mine used to say, it's like, I'm not going to give you the answer. I'm going to ask you the right questions so you can own it.
That really sets up the question I've had since we started. And I've sort of been waiting for the right moment here, which is because I deal with a lot of people. I've had a lot of people tell me that I changed their perspectives, that they were liberal, and I basically made them walk away without me trying to, just me having my show and doing my thing, that it gave them a newer perspective. My question is, it seems really challenging to me what you're trying to do here, Brandon, in the sense that I feel as if conversation and debate for the search of truth has almost evaporated in our society. And cognitive dissonance, which for those of you who are listening and may not be familiar with the term, which is basically is a concept that people are afraid to accept a different perspective of things because that'll challenge their identity and who they are. So they'll just reject things that do not, or perspectives and arguments that don't conform to their preconceived notions. And my question is, seeing as how that's so prevalent today, seeing as how critical analysis has been almost abolished in schools, it's just memorization rather than critical analysis, how do you overcome the fact that so much of our society is just embedded in this cognitive dissonance? I don't really want to hear it, and if I don't have an answer for the points you make to me, I just assume it's because I just don't know better. But you're probably still wrong, and disregard what you're saying, reject it just because it's too uncomfortable to accept the perspective that you're giving them.
No, this is a great question, and I appreciate you asking it because it gives me an opportunity to explain what our approach is like. So when I started Walk Away, I basically based the entire methodology of the movement behind my own personal experience because it worked. I mean, I'm an extremely strong-willed person. I'm extremely stubborn, and I don't, probably even more than the average person, I don't like to admit that I'm wrong. And I had to do that when I ended up walking away from the left. And so the reason why I walked away from the left in the first place is because, after Trump got elected, I started trying to figure out how it happened and how the media that I trusted had gotten it so wrong, because I was all but guaranteed that Hillary Clinton was going to win in a landslide, and this was going to be like the greatest political upset in American history. And so I went on this quest to try to understand, why did anybody vote for Trump, and how did the media get it so wrong? And I was just asking a lot of questions, and in asking I was also at times kind of lashing out because I was still very, very upset that she had lost and he had won. And so I had kind of opened my mind to doing some research. But in January of 2017, right around the time he was about to take office, I went on Facebook and I posted that I would never be able to understand how anyone could vote for a man who was capable of mocking a reporter's disability in front of a cheering crowd. And that's when this woman named Diane, who was my babysitter when I was a baby and a staunch Christian conservative her whole life, she reached out to me privately and she sent me a link to a YouTube video that was entitled "Debunking the Trump Mocked the Disabled Reporter." And when I saw it, like, I didn't even want to click the link because I was like, oh my God, this is going to be more like Fox News brainwashing and right-wing stupid propaganda. And then I got kind of excited because I was like, oh, actually, you know what? I can't wait to watch this and tell her how stupid she is. Stupid, MAGA idiot for, falling for this propaganda. So I watched the video, which probably a lot of people have seen. It's basically like a compilation of footage showing Donald Trump doing that exact same voice and gesture throughout the years, anytime he was imitating anybody who was flailing because they were caught in a lie. And I had to watch it like 3 or 4 times to be able to process it, because I was having cognitive dissonance, because immediately when I saw it, my brain started like firing off and going like, oh my God, I don't think he actually mocked that reporter's disability. But my heart was going like, yeah, but we hate him. But we hate him. And I was very acutely aware that like I didn't want to be watching anything that made it harder for me to hate him because I wanted to hate him. So it took me a while to process that and come to terms with the fact that, okay, he didn't mock that reporter's disability. But then I started going, okay, but why did CNN tell me that he did? Because, you know, CNN has never lied to me before. So why were they lying to me on that day? And
this was before 2020. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was early 2017.
Yeah.
And so that's what started the journey, and then that's what got me to open my eyes and change my mind. But when I looked at that, I thought to myself, the reason why that worked, and it wasn't maybe on its own, it wouldn't have. Maybe it was kind of the final straw or the final paper cut that killed liberalism for me.
10,000 paper cups, yeah.
Right. But the reason why it was effective is because she came to me and she allowed me in my own space, in my own sorry, I keep trying to adjust the light. I'm in a hotel room and the sun is like coming and going, so it's just like gets really bright and really dark and really anyway. So she allowed me kind of my own freedom and my own space to process that in my own time. And all she did was send me the link to the video. And she just said, like, look, I'm not trying to start a fight with you. I'm just asking, have you seen this? And, you know, what do you think about it? And so allowing me that freedom and that space and that time to process it and then get back to her. And I told her, I was like, look, I'm really struggling to understand what this means, but I appreciate that you sent it to me. And then it was many, many months after that of research that led me to ultimately walk away. All of that is a very long answer to say what I learned from that experience is that, you know, people don't like to be cornered. They don't like to be confronted, and they don't like to have somebody going, you're wrong, and you need to change your mind right now. So what I try to tell people that I think are effective strategies are, well, first of all, don't expect somebody to change their mind like in real time as you're talking to them. Sometimes they need to step back, process it, and you may never see the change, but you will definitely have planted seeds that will lead to change over time. So it's worth continuing to have those conversations. But the other thing is that I think it's really important to establish mutual core values. That's what I call it. Because the left thinks that they have a monopoly on compassion and kindness and fairness and all these things. And they think that people on the right possess none of those qualities. So I always try to encourage people on the right, whether you're talking about abortion or the border, immigration, economy, any of these issues, try to frame it from the context of saying like, look, I care about marginalized minorities just as much as you do. I care about poor people. I care about everybody. That's why conservatism is kind. The policies I support are kind. If we look at, you know, people think, oh, you just want a border because you're a racist or because you don't like brown people coming into the country. Well, guess what? We already have a lot of brown people in this country, and we have black people in this country. And disproportionately, it's usually those communities that are suffering more from the effects that happen when people are flooding into our country, whether it's jobs or skyrocketing crime or a number of other things. So liberals don't have a monopoly on compassion. And I would argue that conservative values are very compassionate and kind. And, you know, if you can allow people the freedom and the space to kind of step back and process what you're saying without trying to get them to see that they're wrong, I think that if you plant those seeds over time, it will wake people up.
I like exactly what you said, because that's enlightening to me. Because every time I've been able to communicate with somebody and I found that they started to process it, to move in what I would say out of a direction of a cult, for me, it was more first an emotional bond. And then it was like, what else do you have? What facts? I haven't found that facts work in the beginning. It's like when you're like, look at the facts. Here are the facts. Just look, it's 1 + 1 is 2. And it just shuts everything down. Yeah.
George, you know why? I think people intrinsically know the truth. The issue is the amount of effort and time they have invested in believing what they believe. That is the issue.
So it becomes part of them. It becomes part of them.
That's the problem. Their friends are thinking the same way. They will be excommunicated if they even dare to 100%. Say, you know, this one thing Trump did, I kind of agree with this one thing. You're gone. So
wouldn't you call that? Would you call that weakness or just momentum?
Transactional, and the technical term is called transactional analysis.
Transactional, okay.
Is that you have to agree 100% with the group you're in. I've actually done sociological experiments on this. It's very fun. It's really interesting. I'm not going to get into it, but
I get it.
People
No,
creates-
that's the thing that drives me crazy, Paul. I didn't mean to interrupt you. That's what drives me crazy. I don't agree with anyone 100%, let alone family. I love Trump and support. I don't agree with all. I just don't. I call out with the things I disagree with. I go, I support my president, love him, one of the best, but I just don't do that. To me, that is an anathema to me. Maybe it's because I was kidnapped when I was 8 years old.
You're not a unionist. Have you ever been part of a union?
Hell no.
And
Okay,
they've created this ideological slavery where whatever, it's not just whatever they're thinking today, but whatever they're thinking tomorrow, you have to jump on board with it, even if it's radically new and further left. You must jump on board with it, otherwise you become part of them.
Correct.
That's how the trans movement was able to move so much more quickly than the gay movement, right? Because I mean, gays were fighting for rights for decades. The trans movement, 10 years ago, there was no such thing as trans, and now we're
trans movement hijacked. The trans movement hijacked the gay movement.
It did. But what I'm saying is they planted this into these fertile minds that like, look, you have to come along with us on this, otherwise you're one of the bad people. Now that's why I say that's why I keep coming back to Obama being so destructive, because he made this schism of us versus them, and you never want to be part of them. So, oh my God, I never would have thought to say this, but I don't know, maybe a person can change their gender 20 times a day, and maybe there is such a thing. I don't know, maybe that's what the science says, and they start trying to find ways to rationalize jumping on board something that they never would have considered accepting even a month earlier. But that's something that's the new church that they have, that they are slaves to. Otherwise, like Brandon, they end up getting ostracized by 90% of the people that they know, and they know that's what will happen. They know they're living under that sword of Damocles hanging over them, that if you ever step out of line, you become part of them, and you're evil and you're a terrible person. So they'll find ways to justify and rationalize switching over into something even further left and further left. And that's what we've seen happening for the last 5 to 10 years.
Well, what you guys are saying without saying it out loud is basically this is a cult. They are a cult. Yeah. I say this because I have studied cults. I like in depthly. Like I have done deep dives into cultism and how it comes about, and what, because I was always curious, because I studied religion back when I was younger. I was even doing seminary type stuff, so like I have a pretty deep understanding. No, I mean, believe it or not, I was
it's hard for me to imagine you in seminary with P. Diddy.
I was getting that kind of training, man. Like I was all in. I was all in, and the more understanding I got is kind of weird. The more I pulled away, but that's a whole nother story. But here's the thing, the way cults operate, man, is and you don't have to be weak-minded to fall into a cult. And I think people have like this misconception that everyone who joins a cult is stupid, right? Because on the outside looking in, it does look stupid. It looks very dumb. Like, why would you guys do this to yourselves? Why would you follow this obvious maniac, right?
Something must be emotionally broken.
Cults don't go after stupid people. They go after broken people.
Broken,
right?
That's right, yeah.
They go after broken people. And I'm telling you, man, no matter how smart you are, when you're all messed up on the inside, man, and someone is there for you, right? And then they bring you into this family that's there for you, right? And you're seeing nothing but good coming out of this family that basically has adopted you, right?
Sounds like gang initiation.
Well, without getting your ass beat, but yes.
Yeah.
But that's what the left is now. The left is nothing but a bunch of broken people who have found this one thing that they all kind of rally behind. Now, just like in a cult, if you speak against the leader, right, or the ideology, you are seen as a fall away, right? You're seen as someone who is toxic to them, right? Well, here's what they do. First, they'll try to talk to you, right? And I've seen this happen on the left. I remember a friend of mine, and this was during the Olympics, a friend of mine, and she's, gorgeous model, and, she's all into like the liberal space. This friend had posted a comment about what was going on with the Olympics, and that guy that was in the ring beating the shit out of the women, the other female boxers, right? And she was like, she just made a simple post that said, how is this okay? How is this right? Right? All of a sudden, I'm looking at her comments. Man, her liberal friends, her leftist friends, I should say, went in on her. They're like, careful, you don't want to sound transphobic. You got to be careful on what you're saying. And she was like, I'm just asking a question. And they're like, no, what you're doing is you're being transphobic, right? And so they literally just attacked her, and to the point where she deleted the post. But that's what they do, right? This is a cult we're dealing with, man. And here's the thing: the reason why I bring this up is you guys keep talking about facts. You can't argue facts with a cult.
No.
There
so
are
that's
no
why
facts.
so that's why I was asking Brandon. So what is your first way? Like if you were to reach them, like I saw the video, one of my favorite videos of yours is when you went to a march, I think it was last year, and you were asking these women, where is it? I want to show this.
The women's
march. Yeah, it's going to come right back because this was brilliant.
What does this sign mean to you?
You know, Black women are probably the least respected in America. Their voices aren't heard. Their issues aren't paid attention to. Many white women look beyond their own personal interests and they leave Black women out of the conversation. And I think America needs to change that.
What are we not trusting them to do right now?
How to care for our country, how to care for each other, how to stand up and fight for things that aren't right.
Millions of Black women voted for Trump. Should we trust them?
Oh yeah, this was brilliant. I remember when he did this.
The computer's broken. It's like,
and by the way, one of the worst things that happen to Black folks outside of slavery are liberal white women.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh my God.
Hell, Malcolm X said it.
Yep.
How many years ago?
The white liberal. The
Or
white
just white
liberal is
liberals
the
in
biggest
general,
danger
but-
to.
Yeah.
The fox.
I'll take your hand in mine.
I don't think that's true. Millions of Black women voted for Trump?
Way too many. It is.
Should we trust them? Maybe not trust Black women then.
That's not true. I do trust Black women.
Who'd vote for Kamala Harris?
I think.
She's gonna walk away. There's no way she's gonna stay here.
It's a new form of walk away.
They voted against their own interests, so it's really hard to put the idea of trust together with someone who is continuing to.
It's like they're terrified, Brandon, to speak what they really want to say. It's like, wait a minute, how the hell could they vote for him?
I'm gonna tell you guys right now, just from experience, liberal racism hits so different for Black people than anyone even realizes, man. Liberal racism is a special kind of racism, right? Because it's a racism of low expectations, right? It's like they don't even think they're being racist, and that's the funniest part of it, man. It's just I would rather, you know what's funny? I've experienced more racism from liberals than I have from conservatives.
100 times.
Like experienced racism.
Because you're
you know what I
talking
mean?
about tokenizing and patronizing. Is that what you're saying? Like treating.
Wait, verbal. You can find a way to get an ID to vote. You know how to do that?
Right. Oh, wait. Not only that, guess what? I know how to use a computer.
Damn, you have knocked my socks off.
I know how to
You
use a
ain't
computer.
Black.
And guess
You
what?
ain't Black.
I understand math.
Damn
You
it.
ain't Black.
That's racist, verbal. You know that. Math, milk.
No.
Oh yeah,
Reading.
math is totally racist. And as that one governor or senator from New York said, you know, there's so many Black children who don't know how to use a computer, right? So it's a special kind of racism.
Next thing you know, he's going to tell us he likes mayo too. This is crazy.
Actually, I do. I don't. Not
Can
at
I
all.
sound off?
That's
Can I
where he
sound off
draws
for a
the line.
second?
Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
A couple of things about what Joe was saying earlier and what Paul was saying earlier too. So Joe was talking about you know, kind of the cause du jour and people getting behind. You know, first it was like gay, then it was trans, and you know, that's right about where I was headed early on when we had the discussion about liberalism versus leftism. And it kind of, in a way, it sort of makes the point I was making earlier, which is that, you know, you might have gotten on board with liberalism and said, like, look, I think everyone deserves, you know, the same right to get married or whatever. But what happens is you become a part of this. And then the next thing you know, you're being asked to say that, you know, there's no such thing as gender, and or that there's 87 different genders and all of this different fluidity and all this stuff, or that, you know, you can't support abortion unless you support abortion up until birth.
Right.
And everything just gets pushed farther and farther. And I think a lot of people, you're almost trained, I think, to a certain degree to say, like, progressivism is good. So there really is no line in which progressivism becomes bad. It's just, we just keep charging towards progressivism. And people start to feel uncomfortable inside and say, like, yeah, but I don't think I believe in this. I don't agree with this, but it's true. There's a lot of consequences and conditions that come along with pushing back against it. So that's why I sort of am like, what difference does it really make at this point, whether we call it liberal or leftist, when they're kind of existing within the same circle, and one is not pushing back against the other one and saying, hey, like, look, you guys have gone too far. The liberals are kind of just going like, okay, well, I guess I support that too. And I don't know, to me, it's not even worth drawing the line anymore. I know we already talked about it, but I felt like the point Joe was just making really illustrates what we were talking about earlier. And then real quick to what Paul was saying about it becoming kind of a part of people's identity, and that they do. I'm paraphrasing. It was a little bit ago, but I think you were saying people don't want to admit that they're wrong and things like that. I've often said that I think that the more educated a liberal is, the more indoctrinated that they are. And I think that if somebody goes and they get secondary education, or if they get a master's degree or a doctorate, I mean, so first of all, a lot of people are actually specializing in fields of study that they're getting their degrees in liberal ideology. But even if they're not, even if they're getting some sort of degree in something that shouldn't have anything to do with liberal ideology, it's got, leftist ideology, it's found its way, it's found its way into everything. And so now you're actually challenging a person's education too, and the fact that they've probably spent tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, put themselves into debt so that they could be trained to believe all of this bull crap. And now you're basically saying to them, oh, by the way, all that money that you put yourself into debt for, and that stupid doctorate dissertation that you wrote and everything else, it was all horse crap. You know, you just bought into this completely stupid thing that's not real. So there's like a huge investment, I think, for a lot of people, where they're not going to want to say, oh my God, I put myself $100,000 into debt and I majored in something that's ridiculous and not true. Like, they're going to fight hard to make it real at that point.
Well, listen. Brandeis, I think, is teaching a course on feminist glaciation, and I think that is extremely valuable, and you should not be cutting it down there, Brandon.
Just like that PhD who announced herself 6 months ago that she got a PhD. I don't know if it was from Princeton or Stanford in farts.
What?
Yes, farts, gas, passing gas. She got a PhD in passing gas. The smell of flagellation.
Well, I think it would be valuable for a woman to study farts as long as they learn to laugh at them.
Oh my God. Last week, Brandon, we had this. There was a woman. She's done 6 videos. Okay. She has had a temper tantrum because she went to a store. Crying, full blown looking in the camera. Fletcher, see if you can find that real quick.
I did a video on it on Appalling News.
Oh my God. Temper tantrum because she goes, do you know what happened to me? Do you know what tears? She's like, I was standing at a counter and a man walks up to me and rips one in my direction. Just bursting, going to the manager, calling security. I mean, wow. She was serious. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a troll. She just had lost it. She's like, I was with my wife, and they're like, how could you do that? And I think he called me a bitch, and she just goes on. But it was
only after she went after him.
Yeah, I know.
Like, leave him alone. Let him rip one.
She asked the manager to get rid of him. He's like, what are you going to do? He passed gas.
In my Appalling News piece, I recounted a scene where I was in the grocery store with my wife, and I let a silent but deadly one go right where she was standing. And then I just walked away, and then people came next to her and smelled it and all looked at my wife.
Here it is. Hold on. You got to hear it. It's good. A good laugh, good palate cleanser, but it also shows the insanity in our world today.
And there were like 2 guys that walked up next to us. You know, Peyton like walked away. My wife walked away for just a second, and they were like snickering to themselves or something. And like, I didn't really think much of it, so I'm just looking at the candy aisle trying to decide what candy I want. And he walks by and gets like inches from me and just rips one, like this far from me. That's disgusting to say. I can't even believe I'm having to say this, but he did. And about that time, Peyton walked up, like didn't witness what happened, but like seconds later, and I'm like upset, and I follow after him. I was like,
I wonder how she recognized it seconds later.
Right. It's just, it goes on.
So she followed the scent. Is that what she's saying?
No, I'm remembering.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I added the laugh track because I thought it was like an SNL skit, so I thought maybe it'd be easier for us to handle that way.
No, that was good because it's like when you see this over and over, and that's how we end up getting a Sadie Perkins and all these other bottom feeders who come up and they attack kids. But here's a question I've had before we're going to take some super chats because there are a lot of questions for you, Brandon. I believe.
Wait, are we done talking about the fart video? Because
yes.
I had some commentary.
All right, go ahead.
If I may. Well, the first thing I thought of when I saw it, I was like, this lesbian is traumatized by male flatulence, but this is probably exactly one of those girls that we see in those videos who walks around with period blood on her pants or like throws used tampons at people because like this is like an actual thing that feminists are doing.
Okay,
what?
I didn't know that.
Really?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Throwing the blood. I didn't hear that.
I actually knew that. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Especially right after Trump got elected the second time, there were a bunch of videos on TikToks where feminists were saying that they wanted to do it. They wanted to encourage other women to start throwing their used tampons at Trump supporters.
Okay.
I throw my used tampons at people.
Yeah, you would, Paul. No, well, have you found before we get to these super chats? Yeah, I know, I'm still digesting it. Have you found that since the heavier that the media and nonprofits and NGOs are pushing the trans movement on children, that you've had a higher conversion, like of walkover, people who are walking away? Like, is that one of their? I'm trying to figure out what is the biggest thing that they go, this is why I'm walking away and why I'm coming.
I don't know that I could honestly say that was like something that's more hot button than other things, but I feel like here's the deal.
Border?
Well, safety. I mean, just in general safety, because what I was going to say is people, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, are inherently selfish. Yeah. And people will hold out on changing their mind until something becomes very painful for them personally. And I think it's usually the point where people start to feel like their own safety is encroached upon, that they start going like, okay, forget this. Like probably the biggest influx of people that we had in the biggest like wave of testimonials for walkaway was in 2020 during the BLM riots, because I think people started to just be like, look, I've supported the Black community. I've been a good ally. I've been a good anti-racist. I've been everything I've been asked to be. But there's still people coming into my neighborhood and breaking our windows and burning our neighborhoods down and telling us that it's not enough and forget it. This is like these, and I think it became very revelatory too for people that this isn't even really about a social cause or racism. It's really just about permission to act out on violent impulses that they already have.
Anarchy. I mean, I think when they started trying to also convince us while you're watching in the background, watching a news reporter, this is the summer of love and buildings are going up. You're like, yeah, okay. Yeah, summer of love. All right, let's take a few super chats where we have questions for the panel for Brandon. Yeah, we'll get to the gifted memberships in a minute. Let's just get to the questions first, or the statements. Mexican Iron Man for $50 for a decade. For 4 decades, I was a liberal progressive activist and fundraiser. I freaked out when Hillary lost in 2020. I had my awakening moments and found your videos. Thank you, Mr. Straka, for your work. It really helped me through a tough period in my life.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's beautiful. That comes from our very own Mexican Iron. That's wonderful. I love it. I love it. All right. We got next Patrick Robinson for $10. Brandon, 2 things. I told my walkaway story on the Facebook page, and I never knew if you got around to seeing it. Are you planning another Atlanta walkaway event? I didn't get to go in 2020.
Well, we'll definitely go back to Atlanta at some point. I don't know that I have anything on the calendar right now. We're going to be spending a lot of time in New York City now, with the possibility of a Democrat socialist becoming the mayor of the city. I actually just moved back to New York this week because I'm going to spend the rest of the year fighting against democratic socialism taking over the city. But definitely in the future, we'll be coming back to Atlanta for sure. And in terms of your walkaway video, as I mentioned earlier, We are getting the original Walkway group reinstated on Meta, so we're kind of in the final stages of a settlement agreement with them right now. The group is coming back. If I didn't see your video before, I'll have an opportunity to see it now. And if you're still on Facebook, be on the lookout for the return of the Walkway group, and post another video when the group comes back, please.
Brandon, I want to take that opportunity. Now you say you're up in New York. I'm from New York from birth. I mean, I'm living in Jersey now. If you think that I can be of any assistance in speaking, people seem to like my public speaking style. If you think that I can help in participating in any of your events, I would be happy to volunteer my time to help you out in any way possible. I think that what you're doing, I'm impressed both by you and the work that you're doing, and I would love to participate and help you out. If you want to DM me on X or something like that, and maybe to arrange, because I'm in the New York region. So, like, if you're doing a lot of events here, I would certainly welcome the opportunity to do whatever I can to help, to help change hearts and minds.
I appreciate that, and I would love it. And George has my number, so I'd appreciate it if maybe we could all connect on a text thread or something. And I much prefer to just text and talk on the phone if we could. And you, if I may give a shameless plug, since you just sort of mentioned that, we're doing our first rally in New York City on July 27th. That's 2 weeks from today, I believe. I hope it's not a week. I could use an extra.
No, it's 2 weeks. Today's the 13th.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks from today, Sunday, July 27th, at 1 o'clock in Union Square. If anyone out there is in the New York City area, please come out and support. This really is important. So the event is called the Rally Against Democratic Socialism, 1 o'clock in Union Square, Sunday, July 27th. And you can go to walkawaycampaign.com/events and please register for the event. And I would love to have you there, Joe. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it.
That'd be awesome. Awesome. Yeah, Fletcher, see if you can get a link so we could share that with everyone about what's happening in 2 weeks. For Brandon. Eric Heffelfinger for $20. Both parties are going through an identity change. Dems are going communist, chasing what was liberal 20 years ago to the right. Repubs being taken over by the classic libs, and libertarian types chasing the Bush types out. I think that's pretty straightforward. Thank you for that. Yeah. Thank you, Eric. Everybody's changing. Mark of Reality for $10. Let Tom know what I finally saw of Superman today, and I agree with his assessment that he gave last night on Flashcast. A refreshing 8 out of 10. We'll talk about that later. Thank you, Mark. We also have Mark of Reality for another $20. Neoclassical liberalism, invented by Hobbes and Locke, is modern-day conservatism. Modern liberalism is socialism, complete with a totalitarian bent. I agree. Thank you, Mark.
What I find, though, is like when you try having a conversation with most people who are not, who haven't really studied the traditional definitions, all of this is just, it's almost irrelevant. It's a relevant conversation where we can have a conversation about large groups of people and what the ideology is and what they're really thinking, and how their self-identification may be a poor representation of what they think they're identifying as. But then at the end of the day, for most, what people call normies, even though I hate that word, for most people who are just living their day to day, they're not thinking about themselves as far as, am I traditional liberal? And if you can convince them you're not traditional liberal, you're really leftist, I don't think that does anything to actually help convince someone to change their perspective on anything. So it's an important conversation more for people who study different forms of ideological perspective than I think it is on a pragmatic day to day thing.
Right. Well, you're not going to give a lecture. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And the best way, I think, to approach them is the way that Brandon has been discussing.
And one of the proofs to what Brandon was saying as far as just showing them a side on an emotional level. I think Verbal might have brought this up also. I saw CNN a week or I think it was like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago. They were talking about how Trump had such a phenomenal week after the bunker buster situation, and how in so many different ways the entire week had gone swimmingly well. This is CNN. There was a 6-minute clip. They were breaking down all the things that went well for him. And one of the things they spent some time focusing on is that he actually had an opportunity when he was in the EU to display sympathy for a Ukrainian woman who was talking about her husband who was fighting on the front lines against Russia, and what steps he can take to help out her husband and other Ukrainian soldiers, and that he stopped what he was doing, and he started talking about how difficult it must be for her that her husband is away at war, and how challenging it was, and how human and how how human he looked, which shocked the left, shocked the heck out of them. Those of us who have been Trump supporters for ages were like, yeah, of course, that's how he's going to react. But I think that it seemed to be very impactful to this person who is in general very anti-Trump for him to see Trump in a very human moment, see someone who might not agree with politically or ideologically, although he seems to agree with Ukraine more than I would have expected. But that even if he disagrees with them, that he can have a genuine sympathy for an individual who's in a personal struggle because of their political situation, and that it only pounds home the point that several of you have been making in this conversation, that the human element and understanding and helping the other side recognize that the them that you're fighting against are not the demons you think they are, and there actually is an objective of that is. I think it is a primitive. It's the primal first step towards getting them to understand that this is much more a difference of philosophy rather than you're on the side of good. That one side is a side of good, and the other side is a side of evil.
I think I would disagree with that.
When I say side of good, side of evil, I want to be clear. I'm talking about the followers, not the leaders. The followers.
Yes, they feel that they're on the side of good, but it's different than what it used to be. 40 years ago, you had two sides of a coin who wanted to better America or try to make it more perfect union with different approaches. You now have people who want to destroy it.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. Look, I'll tell you right now, I think the leaders of the left are genuinely evil. I think they're selfish and they're self-interested. I'm not trying to give a pass to them. I'm saying they're followers who don't see that in them.
They of course
have
they
been
don't
trained to believe that anyone who voted for Trump is inherently evil, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying as far as breaking through that narrative. That's what I was talking about.
Because no one wants to see. I mean, most villains don't see themselves as villains. They see themselves as morally righteous good guys.
Yeah.
The heroes.
The hardest thing to do is to not shoot the messenger, to take at face value what the individual said at that moment in time and analyze or take to heart what that person said without immediately just dismissing it because of the source. That is a very, very difficult thing to do. And I think the change, the most dramatic change is the fact that a lot of people now realize that the mainstream media has been complicit. And I think the both sides incident illustrated that better than any other. The Charlottesville, I think.
The Charlottesville hoax.
Yeah. And literally up until maybe a couple of months ago, I was still hearing mainstream media announcers repeating.
Yeah, they do it.
Obama said it during the campaign, the Kamala Harris campaign. Obama said it at public speeches that he was calling Yahtzees very fine people. He was repeating the same hoax as less than a year ago.
They do that all the time because they don't have anybody to hold them accountable. That's why I like what Brandon is doing, because every person that walks away and join you is one more person they cannot reach.
Yeah, I think they actually become the opposite, right, Brandon? They probably become the staunchest. I think there's a visceral reaction, which likely happens often. But Brandon would know that better than I would.
But Brandon, you're attracting people that I think are maybe at the cusp to change, right? Like you're never going to change someone who is on the other side per se, but maybe aren't your best audience are people who are starting to question.
Yes. So I always make this really terrible analogy because I've never taken the time to come up with a better one. But it's almost like, if you think about the ocean and like what's kind of getting like pushed into, to the shore and the tide, like we're kind of going after the people who are being pushed, in the tide. But like, I think the people who are out there in the middle of the ocean are too far to reach, perhaps always will be. But yeah, to your point, 100%, that's true. And Joe, what did you just ask me? Because I was
asking whether they have more of a visceral reaction, that they almost become like the biggest attackers against the left because they feel betrayed, because the betrayal feeling that you were talking about earlier.
Right. I always say that I think that walkaway voters are the most motivated voters because they actually there's almost like a sense of vengeance, like this. That they want to go out and vote against the people that they feel lied to by and betrayed and deceived by. So yes, I always say that I think, once we wake people up and get them to walk away, like they actually become very motivated and participatory, and they're not like the kind of people who just check out and maybe vote and maybe don't vote. They're very, very motivated.
They're very active. How can do you also do people also join who like just agree with you from the beginning, like they weren't liberal or they weren't on the left? Or
Yeah. So
Okay.
from the very beginning, and that's actually a very crucial part of our base. So obviously I started Walk Away trying to encourage people to walk away, but then, we got a lot of people who wanted to volunteer, wanted to participate, help the movement grow. And so a lot of our conservative base, lifelong conservatives, lifelong Republicans, they came up with this term, which we've kept since the beginning, which is they call themselves the walk withs, meaning that they walk with people who walk away, which sounds kind of funny, but it's actually really important because, as we pointed out here, it's a lot like leaving a cult and people lose everything. So knowing that they have a community that is there to support them and walk with them and make sure that they're not alone, and and people have literally like lost their jobs. They've lost their careers. They've lost relationships with their parents or their grandchildren or their children. So having those people, not just other people who walked away, but, a community of people who are lifelong conservatives and Republicans who just are there to be friends and allies and supporters. It's hugely important. So yeah, we have a lot of people in our movement that we refer to as the walk withs, and I didn't make that up, but I think
I like
it's really
that.
cool.
I like that. I want to join that. I didn't know because I've been looking for a while. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
On the side. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, when people sign up for whether it's our Facebook group or we created our own app after our Facebook group got banned called Walkaway Social. That's one of the questions we always ask as people are joining: are you walk away or walk with? And it kind of helps us know where people stand and who they are. And honestly, it's the walk with people. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say who are most of our volunteer base. That's not true. It's probably 50-50, but it's always cool, when there's like the lifelong conservatives and Republicans who are just so into what we're doing. They come and they show up and help us do our events, and they're just really helpful. It's great.
That's wonderful. And now you have, this is going to be like because I know that you're leaving in a little bit. Yeah.
Me?
At the 2-hour mark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you go on beyond 2 hours?
Sometimes we do, but I didn't want to keep your time because that's when we'll go into Hollywood and other stuff.
I thought he was talking to me because I got to go in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know you did, but I wanted to show you. You're free to stay as long as you want, but I understand if you have to go. Because now you have a big battle coming ahead. I'm going to show these two clips. We have Zoran Mandani, which is crazy. I still can't believe how he was nominated in New York.
Is about this entire project. It's not simply to raise class consciousness, but to win socialism. And obviously raising class consciousness is a critical part of that. But making sure that we have candidates that both understand that and are willing to put that forward at every which moment that they have, at every which opportunity that they're given. We have to continue to elect more socialists. And we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. There are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS.
Now, here's the thing, because he goes on about defund the police. It's that, have you heard his father? Has anybody heard his father? Oh, here is his father, who is a professor in the United States. We're going to listen to a minute and a half because it's a weapon that we definitely need to enlighten people with, because this guy is insane. Hold on. Where did you go? Where did you go? There it is. Let me bring this video up. I still am shocked, Joe, that about Mandani.
I'm not shocked at all. I'm not shocked.
I haven't been to New York in a long time.
I know the New York liberal. They feel as if they're virtuous for voting for someone.
He's communist. Yeah. He's somebody who wants to destroy. Anyway, he wants to destroy.
That's not the point. That's not the point.
I know, it still shocks. Here's his dad.
The Nazi political project was shared by the Allies. And that political project was to turn Germany into a pure nation rid of its minorities. When the Allies defeated the Nazis and went into Eastern Europe, They began to create pure nations, to ethnically cleanse Eastern Europe of Germans, move them back into Germany. One crime doesn't wipe out another. A Christian nation state decides to cleanse it of all religious minorities, Jews and Muslims in particular, and at the same time launches a colonization experiment, the discovery of the Americas. I argue that nationalism and colonialism are not two different things. America is the genesis of what we call settler colonialism. And the American model was exported all around the world. In America, you have two kinds of minorities that have run the course of the history of the modern American state. The American Indian and the African American. Each has a different significance for our contemporary era. The American Indians were the people on that land when the settlers conquered it. First, they tried to eliminate as many Indians as possible. This was the first recorded genocide in modern history. Then, with the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln generalized the solution of reservations. They herded American Indians into separate territories. For the Nazis,
he goes on to start comparing Lincoln to Hitler. And this is a professor at Columbia University. That's Mondani's father.
That's the first thought everyone had when they saw Lincoln, is like, oh yeah, that guy's the second coming of Adolf.
Yeah, it's insane that thing.
Wait, wouldn't Adolf actually be the second coming of Lincoln then?
He would be.
Stop. You think you know history.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm white. I should.
What do you have coming up next in your fighting in Brandon, in your fight in New York? Because you're going to get the word out. Nope. I think he was having a problem with this video. What do you think about that, Dante? That's Zamdani's father.
Wait, about what?
That was Zamdani's father. Up there's Brandon.
Did I do that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I didn't push a single thing.
Yeah, my sound cut out for a minute. What did you ask me?
I was asking you, what do you think? That was Mondani's father, Zohan Mondani's father. The guy who wants to tax white neighborhoods more, even though he just bought a mansion.
Yeah, but aren't they all? I mean, look, every liberal city, they always threaten that, right? They always have that, we need to tax. See, what they say is rich people, but what they mean is white people, right?
No, he said white people. He said,
really, I mean, that's what they meant. Because here's the thing. There are places, even in I would say South LA, let's say, not even South LA, I'll say even Culver City, right? Where you have an area like Ladera Heights, which is pretty, it's known for being an affluent black neighborhood, right? I mean, very wealthy black folks live there. And they don't ever mean those people. They never mean the ones that live in places like that are rich as well. They don't ever mean rich black people, rich Latino people. It's always white people. So that's what they mean by that. So for them to do that tax, the reason why it'll never happen is because then they got to start answering those kind of questions, right? Like who classifies as wealthy, right? And do you have the balls as a liberal to say that yes, wealthy black people should be taxed more? It'll never happen.
Right. His globalized intifada, I just didn't think that would take off.
By the way, most of these are empty threats. All these are, I'm gonna pass this, I'm gonna pass that. Especially when it comes to
you don't believe Zamdani would do it?
No. I think he wants to probably, but it'll never get passed. And they know this. They kind of know this.
What do you think, Brandon? You think he has a shot at actually winning, or he's just the primary?
I do. No,
You do.
I do. It's not something I wouldn't take serious. I do take it very seriously. I think part of the approach that we're taking, so like I said, we're starting, and by the way, I just arrived in New York 2 days ago, so we're trying to get things kicked off as quickly as possible. But we have this event on the 27th, but then I intend to do these all over the city between now and November and try to reach as many different groups and types of people as I can, and probably simultaneously be doing this. In addition to that, we're going to be assembling volunteers. Whether you're in the New York City area and you can help volunteer, like boots on the ground, or if you're somewhere else in the country and you can help us by making phone calls or writing letters, postcards, things like that. Again, I'd ask people to go to walkawaycampaign.com and click volunteer and sign up to volunteer, whether you're in the city or not. You just want to help our mission. But I'll say, and I feel I didn't see who it was. I think it was Joe. I heard him responding when I think it was you, George, who was saying, he's a communist and this and that. And someone was saying, it doesn't matter. I agree with that, because I think that if you're a young liberal or leftist in New Yorker who's kind of who's getting swept up in the excitement of breaking the system and putting, and ushering in a new system of socialism, you don't really care about things. You don't care that he's a Muslim. You don't care that he's a communist. You don't care about any of this. You basically just care that you believe that there's a broken system, and this guy who's not a Caucasian male wants to come in, break the system, and change it. And so my mission in trying to reach these people is not going after the fact that he's a Muslim or supports Islam or where he comes from, or my mission is to basically say, look, the pain points that he's bringing up are accurate and correct. The city's too expensive. Rent is too high. Groceries are unaffordable. It sucks it's always sucked trying to get by in New York, but it's, I think, probably worse than ever. He's not wrong, and the pain points are not wrong. It's the solutions that are wrong. And we need to point out to people that socialism has always failed. It's always led to destruction. And as appealing as it might seem to have somebody who's charismatic and charming tell you that he's going to give you, rent freezes and government-run grocery stores and all of these different things that are supposedly going to make your life better, it'll only be a short amount of time before your life is going to be categorically worse. And we have data and a long history of trying to implement socialism to point this out to people.
And that's a more effective argument than even attacking his father's statements, because there'll be a dissociative thing where they'll say, well, that's his dad. I don't know that he feels the same way. I think that Brandon's correct. You need to show how the policies and be empathetic to the struggles and the increasing struggles, particularly for young New Yorkers, how it's impossible to buy a home now. It's impossible. And how insane just the cost of living has gotten. And then point out how that while you can understand that, the policy recommendations that he's embracing are disastrous. As bad as it is now, it'll be infinitely worse. And
correct.
That's kind of the difficulties. It's a conceptual argument that you sort of need. You can't give a pithy phrase which will just show that. You sort of need to invest time in helping people understand just how self-destructive socialism is. And that's what they're banking on. I think that's what the Mamdanis of the world are banking on, that they can reduce what they're saying into a slogan of tax the rich or something like that, and that in order to unpack all the flaws in their approach requires far more brain power than most people are willing to put in. But certainly if they're coming to a walkaway rally, I would assume that they're
ready to listen.
Right.
Yeah, but the thing is I bring up his father because that's why if you watch both videos, they say the identical thing. These aren't two separate people. It's not to use his father to dunk on him. It's that the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Yeah. They both want to destroy the American system and the American dream as we see it today. They don't disagree at all. Two, have they ever, when you were saying like it's difficult to live in New York, I was only there for a very short time, so I do not know how, except for what I read, economically what it is to live there. Have they ever? I always thought the conversation was, have you ever thought, how did you get here? how have the policies changed over the years? Were they better under Giuliani? Was it better to live then? Or did it change over a period of time? Why did it change? Who was the one who changed it? Were it the policies? Because I always like to go to the policies.
Yeah.
Well, so real quick, I want to say, and I'm going to answer the question you were just asking, George. But Joe, you had said something about if people are willing to come to a walkaway rally. We're going after people whether they're willing or not, which is why we're doing. So part of the reason I'm going to Union Square is because it's like one of the heaviest foot traffic areas. I mean, people are going to be forced to listen to what we have to say, whether they want to hear it or not. So we're, it's not like we're doing this behind closed doors, invitation only, and so we're going to go out and reach the people where they are with a message that maybe they're not used to hearing, but they're going to have to hear it. And in George, there's a lot of different factors, some of which I'm really going to actually have to study to understand where we've ended up here. But I can tell you, I watched the city change with my own. So I arrived in New York City in December of 1999. So basically at the very beginning of 2000. And when I first got to New York, I found a shared apartment, with a roommate in Chelsea for $650 a month. It was a pretty good deal back then, but back then you could share an apartment for $750, maybe $800 a month. I would say now, if you have roommates, you're probably still spending at least $2,000 a month. I would imagine to have roommates. Maybe 1,800. I don't know, but it's got to be at least that. And I look around and I just think to myself, how on earth does anyone ever come to New York to be an artist anymore?
Right.
I mean, this used to be like an artist city. This is where you would come if you wanted to be an actor, a singer, if you wanted to be a painter, a visual artist, if you wanted to make it on Broadway. I don't know how anybody would be able to do that anymore. And that really, that's to the city's detriment. One of the things I watched happen over the course of that 20 years was the constant, we would lose these mom and pop shops and all these really cool, like New York City staples, whether it's a little restaurant or a deli or whatever, and then it would be replaced by a Starbucks or a Chase Bank or, some major corporate thing. And I'm not like an anti-corporatist. It's not even that, but it's like the city really lost a lot of its charm and a lot of what made it special. And then in addition, they're tearing buildings down, and everywhere you look, luxury condos, luxury condos, luxury condos, everything just became luxury condos. And I kept going like, the only people who are going to be in this city in 10, 15 years are going to be like multi-millionaires.
Nobody else.
Yeah. And I used to say back then too, like, who's going to wait tables like for all these super rich people who are coming into the city? And as silly as that sounds, I was kind of right, because and I hope this doesn't sound bad, but it's the truth. Like back when I was waiting tables back in 2000, 2001, 2002, the waiters were all white people, white Americans, well, all different types, but like people who spoke English, people who were American citizens, and like the bus boys and the runners were like immigrants with broken English, who were just kind of like new to the country, and that was a pretty good job for them to have. Now
it's flipped.
I wouldn't say flipped. I don't know where all the white people are, but I would say that all the waiters are now, they barely speak English.
Yeah, they left for Texas.
Yeah,
a lot of them left for Texas. So you were in the Bloomberg era. So you went from Bloomberg, pretty much. What was that?
Giuliani was the mayor when I arrived in New York. Yeah.
Okay, so Giuliani, Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Which would you say was? I guess it would be Bill de Blasio is the one who I saw started to actually tear it apart. I think, Joe, you would agree with that? It was de Blasio.
Bill de Blasio was a disaster.
Yeah, he absolutely started tearing it apart.
Absolute disaster.
And then Eric Adams.
And COVID really hurt New York a lot also. COVID really hit New York because so many of these different restaurants shut down. And also we learned that for a lot of the reasons you came to New York was to make money, and a lot of those jobs the necessity of COVID was they had to figure out a way to do that online. So now you don't even have to be in New York to make money through New York City, and the entire dynamic of New York is very different now than it was 6 years ago, and a large part of that was the aftermath of COVID. But the key thing I was really getting at is it's not simply a New York problem; it's really a nationwide problem. The young people today, most of them have lost any hope of buying a home for themselves before they turn 40.
Yep.
And that's crazy. That's very depressing. It makes you feel as if, what am I trying for? Like, what am I doing here? And especially if they're saddled by insane levels of educational debt or things of that nature. It's like, no matter which way you go, there's no way to actually beat that system, which now you have a generation of kids who, unlike previous generations throughout American history, where the younger generation had an aspiration of doing better than their parents, there's a hopelessness and despair that I can never do as well as my parents did because the system is rigged against me. And that's really what you need. I think that walk away and other people who are trying to address and counteract the message of Imam Dani have to face reality is that these people, that his audience is desperate, and they're trying to find some way out of the struggles that they're feeling on a day-by-day basis, and that you need to display sympathy, but you also need to basically help them understand that there are other solutions that are superior, and that this solution that he's offering will only make their lives infinitely worse.
Yeah, they are desperate, and that's why a lot of them are being driven into a cult. It's just, where did that desperation come from? That's what I always like to
right.
Trace that. Where did it come from? Because this didn't manifest from nowhere. The thing that I'm really interested in, I think this is a great conversation. I really love what you're doing, Brandon.
Thank you.
I really do believe that you're changing things for the better. I'm so thrilled to have met you. This Mamdani scares me, and I was going to ask Dante what Brandon was just describing about how expensive it is to live in New York. You've told me how many times about LA. It's like identical. Isn't that right, Donnie? You're muted.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, man. The most depressing part of my week literally is going to the grocery market. I fucking hate going to the grocery store because I'm tired of it's not even, look, the price of the eggs have gone down, okay? But fuck eggs, dude. I'm tired of just paying like, $15 for ground beef and shit like that, right? I don't know what's going on as far as with other states. I don't know if food is more reasonable in, like, say,
it's gotten
Texas
better here,
or
it's gotten better here, but it's still
Minnesota. I don't know, but I know, like, in California, maybe New York is probably the same way. Food is outrageous, man, and it's not just food. I really, every day, me and my friends get together, we talk. And, me and Chris Gore talk about this all the time when we're at the bar. Like, it's funny because if you wanted, like, if you had the money to even buy a home here, it's not worth it just because of the cost of living, right? Even if you can afford a house here. So I don't know where the end game is here. I don't know where we go from here in California because we're getting priced out. And even like middle class is getting priced out, right? It's literally only poor and rich people here at this point.
And he's right. It's not just food. It's I spend a lot of
everything.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time
everything.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time in California. I'm in Los Angeles usually like once a month. And recently I went there. It's a long story, but I left New York for a period of a few years but after 2020. And so I went back to Nebraska where I grew up and kind of got reacclimated to Midwestern prices, which pulled me out of the New York frame of mind in terms of pricing, which is obviously at the high end. But I went to Los Angeles and I went to Walgreens, and I swear to God, I bought a thing of laundry detergent, paper towels, and garbage bags. And it was like $38. And I was just like, did I seriously just spend $40 on garbage bags, paper towels, and laundry detergent? Like, is that a real thing that just happened?
Just think about what he just said. Think about what Brandon just said. Detergent, garbage, $40.
Yeah.
How do you live?
When he said that, I didn't even blink because that's what it comes out to.
And so how do you live? So how do you live there? I mean, besides just living off of ramen.
Well, because look, man, if you're lucky enough to only need one job, then that's what you do. Most people here have more than one job because they have to.
But it's a point,
and even then, they're getting by. They're not like
How did the artists get by though, Dante? Because Brandon was just saying
they have rich parents.
I'm talking about the artists who come from Nebraska or Texas or Missouri, the ones with stars in their eyes who want to write or act or direct. I'm talking about
No, they stay for a month and they go back.
Okay.
Yeah, all like the whole LA, fresh off the bus thing,
Right.
it's slowly becoming a myth here, right? Like people because they can't afford to live here, right? Because back in the day, yeah, you were from some other state, you hopped on a bus, came to LA to be, the next big star, to become the next Brad Pitt, right?
Right.
But you could find a job as a waiter or bartender, and you could survive and do your auditions and all that. You can't do that now.
Right. And see, that says so much too, because you were saying the question was, how do they get by? And you said, well, they have rich parents. So you end up with these like rich liberal kids. Well, no wonder why everything coming out of Hollywood is just stupid, woke, leftist indoctrinated crap, because the biggest woke, leftist indoctrinated idiots are rich liberal kids.
Yeah.
They're the ones writing all this crap and producing it.
Absolutely. Look at. There's an article we'll cover just for 2 seconds. They're talking about how Warner Brothers turned down, obviously, how David Zaslav, the CEO of Warner Brothers, turned down what he called a woke Superman, or what insiders reported that the CEO of Warner Brothers said it was woke Superman. The Black Superman movie was deemed too woke by a CEO who doesn't know what that means. Why is Warner Brothers dealing in a euphemism for no black stories allowed? This is how they're pitching it in the article.
Okay, can I just do this real quick?
Is there proof? Is it proof that he did? He took it all. He put it on the shelf because it's woke.
Yes. Well, that's what they're saying, and that's what I reported.
Right. I'm saying, is there proof though? Like I don't just trust any fucking paper I read. So do they have him saying it? Like,
do they have Zaslav saying it? No, they have a reporter from the Wall Street Journal who's reporting it.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I do.
No.
I heard it at the time, but yeah,
I think he rejected it. But there's no way in hell he came out and said, "Oh, because it's woke."
Oh yeah, that's what he told them in the offices. He's like, "Fuck that, we're not doing it. It's woke." And then the same thing happened when he found out that they were going to be turning the DCU into the DCU by killing off Superman in the Flash and replacing him with Supergirl, and then replacing Michael Keaton's Batman with Batgirl in the Batgirl movie. And that's why he canceled Batgirl, because he's like, we're not doing that shit. That's too fucking woke. You think I'm going to fucking let that happen? Superman is Superman. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was bringing this up to talk about the DEI.
And that he did verify some of that shit. So there's enough of it out there that I do believe this. Yeah, because that's the reason they hate him in Hollywood, is he's a known conservative.
You think that that's partially a reaction to election results, and not just the election results, but majority, the winning a plurality there that by Trump, that it sort of almost was a shock to LA, to the Hollywood system, to start recognizing that Middle America is not down with what we've been selling them.
But they knew that Middle America hasn't been down with it.
Up until this point, they've been able to fool themselves, right? See, when Biden was running shit and things were going their way, even though they were losing money left and right, because the proof was already in the pocketbook. They were losing money. They were losing millions for a while now, right? But the culture was sort of on their side, right? And I'm not even going to get into like the BlackRock and all that shit. But let's just say the culture was on their side. Once Trump got elected and they're losing money, oh no, it was done. What Trump winning, what that did was it helped studios kind of take back their studio or studio.
So you're saying that it helped the studio heads who saw that they were losing money be able to stand up and say, "Hey, we're losing money. We got to change this." He gave them that.
Yeah, Trump winning gave them the balls to finally say it.
Okay.
Or I would also argue the excuse, because I don't think we should discount the number of people working in Hollywood who actually hate the woke culture but can't say it out loud.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And that includes people at every level, including, the executives, the people producing everything. But like there's this huge culture, I think, in the industry where no one has felt for a long time like they could speak out against this, even to your point, when they're losing money. But I think when the American people come out and vote for Trump, some of the people who've been keeping their mouth shut for a long time are like, hey, maybe we should kind of like rethink what our business model is here, because it's not resonating.
Emboldened.
Yeah, that's right.
James Woods actually invests in movies, but asks movie productions and asks that his name not be included in the credits to not affect the box office of the movie.
Yeah.
He actually is a fairly active investor in movie properties. Now, just one thing I want to add, because I was a TV executive back in the early 90s, you have to understand that Hollywood never liked Middle America. This is not a new thing. There's
Right.
that wonderful map that someone did as a joke, which showed Los Angeles going from the West Coast to all the tiny and everything else turned into little slivers of Nebraska, Ohio, and then it connected to New York.
Right.
And then that was the map of the United States. And for instance, CBS was embarrassed by the extended success of Hee Haw and Beverly Hillbillies. They wanted to kill those shows and couldn't stand that those were really, really successful. No one in Hollywood wanted to program for middle America. They preferred Will and Grace. That was the kind of benchmark that they wanted for Hollywood. Now, I'm not saying Will and Grace is a bad show. I thought it was a hilarious show.
No, but you're right, because look at what's happening in modern day. Shit like Yellowstone is the biggest show on television because it keys into middle America values and other things like that, to where that's the kind of stuff like, even, you know, you go back a few more years ago, it was Walker, Texas Ranger and stuff like that.
It's also focusing on writing on good content rather than, hey, watch us because we're DEI. It's focusing on the quality, which is what built Hollywood, and that's why people are tuning into it. If it was just a terrible show about middle America,
nobody would care.
No one would watch that either.
No.
But
that's why I wanted to point out that Hollywood never had a love affair with middle America.
They didn't have to have a love affair, but they used to be in the entertainment business and showbiz, so they created products that middle America loved and didn't reject.
No, they really tried to stay away from it back then.
Well, then they accidentally created products that we loved.
Yep.
With the Superman movie that you were just referencing,
Right.
what is the basis of the wokeness? Because I don't have an issue
There
with
is none.
I don't have an issue with Superman being black. Like that
Right.
doesn't bother me at all. I think for a lot of people, when there's sort of like either these
I
remakes,
have a problem with it. But go ahead.
Oh, you mean the black Superman? I thought you were talking about the new movie.
No,
My bad. Sorry.
No,
The Ta-Nehisi
sorry,
Coates
sorry.
Superman is that motherfucker is like one of the like
Well, he knows who
most
Ta-Nehisi.
racist. Yeah, you know who Ta-Nehisi Coates is. That's the guy who was writing this thing.
Yeah, that was
So
the
if
whole
you can only
point.
imagine, this is like probably going to be every stereotype and thing you could think of thrown onto Superman, basically.
well, yeah,
So
that,
my guess.
I'm going to tell you what they did. People keep because there is a black Superman character in the comic books, right?
Yeah.
He's come about,
But this isn't what they were doing, though. Keep that in mind, Verbal.
But my problem with it is this, right? People, they love to try to, I guess, trap fans, right, by saying, oh, but it's in the comics, why do you have a problem with it? Because this character came about like in the past like 10 years when literally Marvel and DC became their wokest, right? So I'm sorry, I don't count any characters created within the past 10 to 15 years when it comes to Marvel, right?
Like Iron Hole.
or DC. My thing is this, what pisses me off is, number one, as a comic book fan, again, I've been reading comics since fucking 1983, so, and I still collect them to this day, right? So certain ones. For me, I grew up in the hood, right? I grew up in a fucked up neighborhood, right? Gangbangers, drug dealers, the whole deal. My salvation were comic books, right? Because I was the one black kid who wasn't a fucking basketball player or a drug dealers, right? So I mean, I had to have something, right? And comic books were my thing. And I supported DC and Marvel. I love those characters, Peter Parker. Look, man, and I've said this before, they love to try to race swap these characters, right? Because we want to see black faces and see ourselves in these characters. I saw myself in Peter Parker, regardless to what his skin color was, right? He's a skinny white kid who was a dork. I was not skinny, but I was a black kid who was a dork, and I saw myself in that character. I saw myself in Steve Rogers. I saw myself in a lot of characters, right? So for me,
You're saying you didn't have to see the character as a black person in order to.
Because I wasn't looking at their skin color. I was looking at what they did and who they were, right?
Correct. You mean character, content of character, not color of skin. Exactly. That's
and
the
by the
whole
way,
reality.
on top of that, I find it so fucking condescending, right? That they feel like they can give us these leftovers, right? It's like no effort at all. We don't want to create original black characters. Let's just race swap somebody, and we'll give that to the black folks.
So you're saying you don't like Ironheart?
Iron Hole.
That's
Hole.
racist.
You forgot Iron Hole.
That's so racist.
Let's see what this article.
This is my problem with all of this, right? And this is why I look. I don't care how good the movie is. If they do a race swap, I want to bury that movie. I want that movie to be buried. I don't want it to make any fucking money. I want them to get out of this bad habit of race.
You want to break it. I wanted them to be done with this a long time ago. But look at the way they frame it. And this is, again, they won't give up the grift, the race hustling. We were supposed to get a Black Superman movie during 2021 interview with Polygon and author, journalist Ta-Nehisi Coates, who was hired by Warner Brothers to write the film, opened up about his excitement over the opportunity. His greatest hope for what would ultimately be a major twist on Superman's cinematic legacy, that people could have an experience of their own with the art and allow his Superman to have a chance. Again, it's talking about you can't connect to it unless you see your reflection in it. So they go on. Coates' vision for the film reportedly revolved around a reimagined Kal-El and was set during America's civil rights era, which would put him alongside real-life heroes like Dorothy Height, James Baldwin, Martin Luther King.
Oh, this sounds awful.
Yeah, I know. Daisy Bates and Malcolm X.
So this was different than the Michael B. Jordan one. See, Michael B. Jordan was going to do the actual Black Superman character that you were talking about.
Kal-Zod, whatever his name was,
Kal-Zod, yeah.
Now, this was going to be standing side by side with Malcolm X. So then the rest of the article gets down to, they called it woke. Zaslav called it woke. Well, here's the definition of woke. Woke has been hijacked, the term, by, they go, the right wing. And woke was, it goes, I know the internet loves the new co-opted definition of the term woke. And then they have a crusade against wokeness, and they go down here.
No, pretty much what you just explained, or what they just said in there, that is almost the definition of fucking woke. Are you kidding me?
Yep, that's not what they say. They explain here.
I know, but
they say the term "stay woke" originated as an African-American vernacular English phrase that urged people to stay aware of political issues that plagued Black Americans.
Which, by the way, is true. That's what woke used to mean. And to make it even simpler, we would say that to each other when it came to, hey, you know what, you either, you're going somewhere, there might be a lot of cops, stay woke. You're going into a new neighborhood that you don't recognize, they don't know you. It could be dangerous, stay woke. Like it was meant as something more like that.
More like alert.
It was be alert, be aware, right? That's what woke used to mean. So yes, it does mean something drastically different now.
Right, but this is what they say it means, to skip right down to the meat and bones.
No, it doesn't mean that anymore.
Right. Yeah, this is what they're saying it meant back then. They're saying, where did it go? Activist Georgia Ann Muldrow, the woman who introduced a new modernized version of the woke term to neo-soul legend Erykah Badu, and uttered the words on the 2008 track Master Teacher, echoed by Lead Betty Settlements, and detailed the term as definitely a Black experience and understanding what your ancestors went through, being in touch with the struggle that our people have gone through here, and understanding what we've been fighting for in every day as we touch down in America. This right here is, to me, my biggest problem with the left, with radicalization. You cannot stay living in the past without continuously being angry.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot.
Yeah.
As someone who identifies as Black, I agree with that quote.
You can't. It's like I have shared before. Sorry, Brandon, I was explaining, so the article goes back and it explains in one section what the woke actually means. And it says that Black Americans need to stay in touch with their past, with the struggle that they suffered. And as, again, many people shared here, I was kidnapped from the ages of 7 to 8 and tortured in a basement for a year. If you're to stay, I view this as the key core problem of the radical cult. If you stay in touch with the past, you're going to remain angry.
Yeah.
And that's what fuels that division.
That's what
I mean by liberal racism. This is what I meant.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what it's for. It's designed because when a movement is successful, you have to ask yourself, you consider this. You could say with the Black movement, the feminist movement, when a movement is successful. So now, and what makes a movement is we have an objective. We are here. This is the current status quo. We want to get to there. We want to move from this position where women have no right to vote to get to women being able to vote. Now, once you accomplish that, you've met your goals. So now you set a new yardstick of now we want to get to there. That is a properly defined movement. What happens when you win? What happens when you actually have everything? Well, now you have this whole mechanism that's been put in place that's really good at affecting change. So you have to change and pretend that we still haven't won. There's still more of a fight to go. There's still more. And so that's when a movement that might start in good faith ends up morphing into just being self-destructive chaos and angry baiting, and basically trying to turn us as tribal and against each other as possible. And that's when it goes from being something that's potentially beneficial to something that is actually really destructive.
We've gone from movement to perpetuity.
Yeah.
That is the new progressivism, or that's what progressivism, they have no goal.
Right.
Their goal is perpetuity, never ending. That's the problem. That's what Douglas Murray described when he talked about the train of goodwill that came in with gay marriage that we've already talked about. And rather than stopping at the station briefly and letting us all celebrate this victory together as human beings, the leftist killed the engineer on the train, left him for dead, and then just kept that train
full speed
going.
ahead. Full speed ahead.
They built Camp Wolfowitz.
And this Douglas Murray describes it in his book. I've got it. I can't remember the name of it.
It's brilliant.
It's brilliant. And that's the problem. And we are now in the same situation as the drug companies. They're not interested in cures. They're interested in maintenance.
Because it's forever. It's a never-ending resource.
Everything that we're creating is forever, and the problem is, as you described, they don't want to stop making money. They've created this entity that generates cash,
right?
So
power.
That's why this cult, I think, is different. Yeah, that's why I think this cult is a little bit different than others. And Dante, who knows much more about cults, this one is becoming an addiction. This one is becoming an addiction where to get the high inside the cult, they have to keep pushing the line further and further and further. You know what I'm talking about, Dante? It's like, we didn't stop. We didn't go, just like what Paul said, gay marriage, great achievement for everybody. Everybody was celebrating. It's like, nope, now we got to get blockers to kids and cut their yites off and start that hole and let's go to the next one. And Paul's
and honestly, if you take really a strong look at that community, though, and I've noticed this a lot when it comes to when we're talking about trans people, is besides being broken, man, these people, we joke around, but they are mentally ill, right? They have real mental problems that unfortunately aren't being addressed. What's really messed up, though, is these mentally ill people are influencing what parents are doing to their children, and that's where the problem's coming, right? It's like you have schools in California where the schools are telling the parents their kids are trans, right? They're telling the parents, that's crazy.
Well,
not asking questions to the parents, just telling them that your kid is this and you have to accept it,
right?
Or they'll report you to CPS.
Don't get me started on that. I got to bust out of here, George. I love hanging out with you guys as always. Brandon, it was a pleasure meeting with you and look forward to working with you in the future.
Yes.
And Valiant's getting mad at me that I'm hanging out with
He's
George and
jealous. What are you, jealous? It's okay. Thank you, Valiant.
It's great. Valiant's awesome. I love that guy. Make sure you sign. Make sure when you guys are here, sign up over here. If you're just stopping by, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Sign up to all these fine people here. Check out Brandon's Walk Away. The guy is doing phenomenal work, and I look forward to seeing all you guys in the near future.
Thank you, Joe.
Adios. Godspeed.
I'm also going to take this opportunity to have to bounce today. But it really was awesome hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'd love to come back again. And George,
absolutely.
Yeah, let's please put me in touch offline with with some of these guys here, particularly Joe, who may be participating. And if I may ask too, if anybody's interested in following our content, and it looks like you've got a lot of people here on YouTube, please go to the Walkway Campaign YouTube channel, give us a sub. And I've also got a YouTube channel, which is Brandon Straka, my name, the Brandon Straka. Give me a sub and follow our content. We'd love to share what we're doing with everybody. So
absolutely. We'll put the links up. Thank you, Brandon, so much for coming today.
It was really fun talking with you guys. Thanks so much. I hope we do it again.
We will. Absolutely.
Right. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Take
have
care.
a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye. What a great guy. What a great guy doing great things. This has been an awesome conversation. I know usually I try to bounce back and forth between, Hollywood, and then the culture and the politics, but this was fun.
I
kind
of derailed it when I.
No, not at all. You're being honest.
So in other words, it's another day
in
in Y for Paul.
You know what I loved, Paul? Why I didn't just sit there and go, mute him. No. It's because honesty. That's what we are here. That's what I've always pushed at Slayer. No. What
Paul
I mean
is the king of the derails.
I don't like self-editing. I hate it. You want it. You thought that. You said it. You got it. It's the chips fall where they may. We're all grown men here. We're not little kids. We deal too many fucking times in this life with babies who can't handle anything. No. Now I want to have the discussion that I want. Now we're going to have this really quick. I am going to. Everybody's seen Star Wars. Star Wars. What the fuck am I? Superman. So you know why
I've seen the Star Wars back in 1977.
I'll tell you why I said Star Wars, because I found this cool video I want to share real quick. Man, Brandon is cool. We're going to have him back. Some of the stuff
is very insightful.
Yeah, I want to work with him. I think he's doing a lot of great work because, how many times have I said that I want to get people, not to want them to get out of the cult. That is the best way to describe it. And, you can't do it with facts. And I want to talk to Paul offline about what you were saying earlier about why the facts don't work. Here's the clip I want to share. The reason I said Star Wars is because David Cornsweet gave an interview to MTV where he said now that he has accomplished his dream role, he only has one more dream role that he wants to play. That's why I said Star Wars. Here we go.
He's our Superman, but David has also spoken about his love for another franchise very strongly. What franchise is it?
Where are the shots? Star Wars. We've started taking a shot, an imaginary shot, every time we hear Star Wars and Juilliard.
Please cast him as an X-Wing fighter pilot.
Okay, because I was going to say who would David love to play, but I assume you already know that.
Pilot.
Oh, yeah.
You probably have Jedi.
I do,
But
yeah,
Nick
Jedi.
is actually right. As a kid, my dream would be to play a Jedi. Now I would like to play an X-Wing pilot.
We're putting that out there. We're manifesting.
You're manifesting. It's going so well so
It's
far.
not. It's I have to not think about it. That's how it works.
Stop thinking about it.
Maybe I could be your droid. Yeah.
Can you do the scream? I'm not gonna do it.
No, you have to now.
Like when he gets
What a tease.
injured, when R2 gets injured or
I've
blasted.
never tried.
Oh,
Do the scream.
He should be like a protocol droid.
Yeah.
Everybody careful.
He's going to do a couple of.
That wasn't great. I have a friend who can do it perfectly every time.
Which one's that?
Anyway, I think he's pretty cool. To me, he's one of the reasons.
He's charming in that
He
respect,
is.
yeah.
So he wants to play an X-Wing pilot. I'm sure he could pull it off now with what he's done. But so I'm going to say what I've been thinking for a while about Superman. I was cautious. I was worried. I'm going to say in 30 seconds the negative shit I didn't like, and then I'm going to tell you the positive. I've seen it 3 times already, so something's drawn me back. I love Superman since I was a kid. Everybody knows that. Kidnapping, yada, yada. I've talked about it. I didn't like the fact that there were moments that Gunn didn't allow it to breathe. Whoever edited this, it must be his decision. To me, just to me, it didn't breathe. It felt like it was a Superman movie done by Marvel. Tom and I talked earlier. He was like, well, DC used to be this more campy and goofy before. And I give him that. The breathing bothered me. I didn't feel the score was up to it. And I didn't like some story inconsistencies. Plus, the biggest thing that drove me crazy is I haven't seen screenwriters write like they used to. I'm going to play this 33-second scene. 33-second scene from a movie. Well, you all know. And it tells you everything you know about the character and the story in under 33 seconds. And I think this is one of the things that I missed, and you pretty much got the end of the movie. Okay, here we go. perfect way, which I still think Superman 78 is the perfect movie for Superman.
Thank you very much, Lois.
Why are you?
I'm sorry.
I mean, why are you here? There must be a reason for you to be here.
Yes, I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
You're going to end up fighting every elected official in this country.
Sure you don't really mean that, Lois?
I don't believe this.
Lois?
Hmm?
I never lie.
See, to me, Paul, right there, that says everything in 33 seconds. And that's in the first 25 minutes, I believe, if I remember correctly.
No, not even close, dude. That's more like 90 minutes into the movie.
Oh, you sure?
I'm fucking positive. Do you realize how long that movie is? The first hour almost is all on Krypton and him getting landing and all that stuff. He doesn't turn into Superman until in the theatrical cut. It's about 50 some minutes into the movie. But if you're talking one of the extended editions, you're talking like almost 90 minutes into the movie.
Just theatrical. Still, the first
Even
hour.
then, it's still an hour into the movie. Yeah.
Right, but he explains it. I didn't get that anywhere except for the end of this Superman movie today. It was at the end when he was explaining to Lex, he has faults, he has this, he has that, and why is it?
At the same time, the whole movie is him kind of coming to terms with that, George, right? Because if not to get too spoilery, but like the movie starts out, it says he's been Superman for 3 years.
Right.
We now see him after his first loss. First loss ever. So first he has a physical loss. Then Lex and between Lex and his social media campaign and the whole war thing that just happened, he's being torn down, by the public. So and then he turns around and that stupid message that comes out completely
screws him up.
Rocks his whole core, right? Like at that moment he's questioning even who he is. So what the movie is about is him being taken down. Even though he was at the top of his game at that point, taken down piece by piece by piece, and him basically getting back up, right?
Right, I got that. That's,
yeah.
So I'm glad, but I wanted that. It's like in the first 15 minutes of Lord of the Rings, after the opening, after the whole with Cate Blanchett narrating the history of the ring and you get that. Robert Meyer Burnett has talked about that many times. In the first 15 minutes, you understand Gandalf, who he is, what he's pretty much about, like as a character, not the whole mystery. Bilbo, Frodo, you get all of that. This one, I understand. It felt like it was a sequel, number one, which was weird.
That I agree with. But that's the thing is, if he'd have done an origin story again, everybody be bitching that we're getting the 15th
I know they would bitch because a lot of people bitch. Two, I didn't fucking like the way he rewrote the Krypton backstory. I don't like that at all. That kills.
I'm not sure if that's going to stick, and there's still reasons why I'm not even sure it's true because, I think it's implied at the end when they that everything Lex did was bullshit.
Except for how would Lex manipulate the
easily he's the source.
No. You remember when whatever her name is engineer?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons how he could. She plugged into that computer and she could get into the computer. What makes you think she couldn't manipulate that file easily where even specialists would be able to say, oh, this is legit?
I agree, but except you remember when he's like, when she taps into it and he's like, have you found anything? Not yet. And then she goes, got it. Well, she didn't manipulate it. I got it. I found it.
No, they just grabbed it, but there's still a glitch in the file. And I have theories on that. And I think we're just supposed to believe that at the end, and I think it's just poor writing in a respect, because at the end, the reporter basically says that Superman is the man we always thought he was. And, basically in so many, I can't remember the exact quote. But it's kind of just thrown out there in a way that it's just supposed to imply, because here's the problem with that. The beginning of the message and the second half of the message doesn't jive. And if it's the truth, then why wasn't Supergirl helping Clark fulfill his destiny? And not only that, why isn't she already taken over Earth? And I think that's part of the reason why she's not even on planet, because she could just go, well, that's bullshit. You know,
okay.
There's a lot of open-ended stuff, and I'm not even I even have theories that Brainiac might be involved, like when she plugged into the computer that she might have gotten in touch with Brainiac, and there's all sorts of things that I think could have to do with that. But yeah.
So the last negative thing I have before I say positive is I like all the actors. I take nothing away from them. I love them all. I respect their talents. I hated Lex Luthor. I thought it was Kevin Spacey all over again, a psychotic Luthor. He did a great job, but I wanted to get where's the sly smile, kind of like Gene Hackman. This was just like a frat boy who was having a temper tantrum with envy. That's what I got. 2, I liked Lois in the second half of the movie. I did not like her in the first half. I felt no awe. I was talking to my Dave, and I was like, what the hell do you think this is about? I was like, when you watch Donner Superman, you see Lois, even as she's falling in love with him, has this awe for a god. It's a god, basically, on Earth. Alien, no alien, he's a god. No matter what, even when they argue, it's all respect. Right from the jump, Lois is talking to him like it's a fucking another boyfriend in a long list. I'm like,
well, because by that time they're already dating, right?
No, but there was no. In Superman 2, did you when she understood who he was, did you see her change anything? She's like, I'm in love with you. You didn't see her like, okay, hey, bitch, no, it's Superman. I didn't feel the respect come through. It's 3 months, 3 months of dating. She should be in the honeymoon phase. I understand they want to make her, don't tie me down. So that was my problem. What I loved about it, corn sweat. I loved the chemistry when Lois and him were together and she wasn't talking. No, I mean, they were magnetic. I felt they were in love. Mr. Terrific, phenomenal. I don't know who set that up, if it's Gunn, but everything with him was just was dead on. Just
only
beautiful.
Decent thing in the movie.
Yeah, and Nathan Fillion, who I was bitching about for months in the clips, I didn't mind him. I just don't like Guy Gardner. I think he did well. I just think Guy Gardner's an asshole.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that means he did a good job because Guy is an asshole in the comics. So
I was like, okay. And the engineer, well, I thought she was okay. The didn't like the armor fucking thing on the Bavarian, Ultraman, whatever his name is, the Hungarian Bavarian. I can't remember his name. The Fist of the Fist of what's it called?
Or whatever
that spoiler.
Oh well, shit. So other than
that kind of gives itself away pretty early in the movie if you kind of figure it out pretty quick.
I did like that he saved the score. I liked that he saved little animals, like in the 78.
Well, once you know that his DNA is what opens the door.
Yeah, but I didn't pick it up until the very end.
So I liked a lot of that. I felt also why I would really love to ask Gunn why he didn't kick the fucking score up. It's like every time they started to fight, you'd hear the background of the John Williams, but it's like they played it very little.
I have theories, but I'm not sure on that. I think it's because with Superman Returns, they really blew their load with reusing the Williams score, so I think they wanted to be sparingly. But I agree with you. Like, I liked the score, but that's the only time I feel like we just didn't get a full-on, Williams moment where it just let it ring. You know, that I agree with.
I was waiting for it. I was like, come on, because music moves you. Anyway, that's my whole pretty much take. What about you, Verbal?
Honestly, man, I enjoyed it. I had a really good time with it. I see. I don't know what people were expecting exactly. I guess I went in there completely blank. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna forget what I've seen. I'm gonna forget who came before. I'm just gonna go in there and see what this Superman has to bring, right? Don't get me wrong. This movie has problems. It definitely has problems. I despise what they did with Jor-El and
come on. Yeah, that pissed me off to no end.
Until they fix that, that's going to be a big dark spot on the movie for me. But other than that, it really felt more like a comic book for me, and maybe that's why I enjoyed it. It had like elements of like the animated series that I really liked. David Cornsweet is a charming guy, and I like what he brought to this character, man. We didn't get as much Clark Kent in this movie. We got mostly Superman.
That's the other point. We got him for 3 minutes?
For 3 minutes. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more Clark Kent, but for the most part, I mean, what David did was great. I thought Rachel was good. Nick Holt, he's not my favorite Luthor, but he was good.
He was good in what he did. I just didn't like that Luthor as well. That's why I said I don't.
I think Michael Rosenbaum for me is one of the best Luthors that I've seen. On screen, but I overall, man, I just think that it has some pacing problems. I think that I think the problem with Gunn, right? And I love James Gunn as a director, but he's not very good at being comfortable in intimate moments. You know what I mean? Like I think
agree.
about that scene where him and Lois are talking in that like hotel room or apartment or whatever, and then there's an alien fight going on in the background with the Justice League. It's like we didn't need that part. Like we didn't need to fight with the aliens in the background. We could have just had a good, nice moment with him and Lois. And so but again, that's for me. That's being nitpicky. I think I didn't care for it, but it didn't take me out of the film. You know what I mean?
That didn't take me out of the film. What took me out of the film is he didn't allow moments to breathe. And I'll say it again. I obviously liked enough of it to watch it 3 times. I did. I liked moments. I don't like the film as a whole. I like moments. Like if it was me, I could chop it up and go, these are the moments that I like. I want that in a movie. Comic book movies, I enjoy. But I don't think that every comic can translate well. That the whole, I don't want to give it away, but you remember the river in that one area and the colors and the whole, a lot of that shit to me does not translate on screen. It will translate for us, nerds and geeks, but I don't think it works for everyday people. I don't.
The thing that bugged me a little bit too is I want to see Superman, and look, don't get me wrong. He saves a lot of people in this film. That's one thing I really appreciate, especially after watching fucking 6 episodes of Ironheart, where she doesn't save one person. Like Superman saves a lot of people, and I'm glad they showed that in the film. But it was moments that I felt like needed him to be there. Like I really wish, like when the little kid was holding the flag, Superman showed up.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
Like stuff like that. You know what I mean? And
I get what you're saying. Plus, I found some story inconsistencies, which those to me are nitpicks. You had Luther doing this entire thing, and a few hundred yards away in Metropolis, you got a campsite with several hundred people working in his building, and not one fucker has leaked this entire time. Come on. Washington can't keep stories and secrets. It's just, it was a little bit too, I think Gunn has adopted too many Whedonisms, if that makes sense. Maybe
I think what you guys are calling Whedonisms are shit from comic books. And this is kind of what I was saying to Paul in the beginning of the show. It's like, I understand why you didn't like it, but all the stuff that a lot of people are saying that they don't like, it's like, yeah, that's shit from a comic book, right? Like, need I remind you that there were several episodes where, mass murderer the Penguin decided, I'm going to run for mayor, and people actually voted for him. It's like, stupid shit like that would happen in comics all the time. Now, I'm not trying to say it's stupid. Right. I'm just saying I like that fantastical kind of Saturday morning quality to it, or whatever you want to call it, the comic booky element to it, where it's, what, we're going to throw all kinds of crazy stuff in here, and there's not going to be necessarily a grounded reason for it, but it doesn't matter because it's a comic book, right? Like that everything is kind of over the top and a little more.
Maybe I didn't. I get what you're saying.
Campy is the word I want to use because I think campy has a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
But I think Flash put it best last night when he said he thinks James Gunn accomplished with Superman what Schumacher was trying to do with Batman and Robin. And that was do a pure Silver Age comic book movie. And if you're somebody who knows the Silver Age, like I walked out of this movie going, you know what? If I don't see that big penny and the Tyrannosaurus Rex in the Batman Batcave, I'm going to be pissed. No, because that's the universe I feel like I'm in now. And I like that. I'm okay with that because people forget that DC always used to be the lighter one and Marvel always used to be the more darker, grounded one, but they flipped because of Snyder and the Watchmen and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anyway.
But I understand what you're saying. The comic book, I'm glad you brought that up. It's just, I don't know why. Maybe it's just been too long. I view Superman differently. So that's my take.
The problem with that, I think, is mainly, and I hate to give Donner the blame for this, but it is partially his fault because he turned Superman from what was a Moses allegory into a Jesus allegory. And at that moment, you made him godlike. You made him above humans. You made him unhuman in a lot of ways. And that's what I like about this movie is this movie brings us back to the Big Blue Boy Scout. Like the line that I feel like you say you like that 30-second scene. Yeah. I feel like they explain Superman in one line. When Lois goes, Clark, your problem is you trust everybody and you think everything's beautiful. That is Superman. He is a big, mushy blue Boy Scout that loves everybody, loves everything, tries to find the good in it. Even Lex at the end, he's like, when he's talking to him like, you know, look, maybe someday you'll understand why, you know,
why
I am who I am and
Oh.
who you are and why, you know, this is what you have wrong about me is I'm not this alien that you treat me like. I'm just as human as you are, even though I'm from Krypton, right? Like that's kind of his whole statement he's trying to make there. He's like, I fear, I love, I hate, you know, all the things that you do because I was raised by humans.
And
so
you know
and that's
what's
something
funny?
Lex just can't get his head around.
No, he can't. But you know what's funny about that? I don't know if James Gunn realized it. I'm sure he's realized. He kind of, in many ways, made a MAGA movie. You know that.
Well, I was one of the people that like I made the joke on Twitter. I'm like, so let's see, Superman was berated by the press and slaughtered on social media, and he stopped a war, and he's just trying to be a good man. Sounds like a Trump allegory to me.
Well, no, I didn't think of it that way. No, I didn't think of it, but that's
no,
cool.
but there is a lot of things that if you stop and you step back and look at it, it's like, wait a minute.
I meant a MAGA movie from the perspective of, if you think of it, they start in the beginning of the movie as an alien, you know, here's this alien immigrant, blah, 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 blah. But by the end of it, if we are to believe his Kryptonian parents wanted him to go and do bad in the world, which
to take a harem. Yeah.
Yeah, to take a harem. So I believe
And I'm
that.
still not sure I believe all that business.
But I'm taking it from the perspective of they said it until they change it. I'm going to believe it. But by the end, what is it that he states? It's that his basically mom, Pa Kent, American Western values made him a good human being. I'm like, that's
yes, yeah. I mean, and you can look at it from that perspective too. Let's say yes, even if that news report isn't supposed to allude to us that the whole thing was bullshit,
right?
And it is true. There is a precedent that it could be true. Like I said, like even in the film itself, I thought for a moment maybe Gary, number 4, was the one who actually corrupted the file, and he's been lying all along. Because when Superman comes in and he sees Gary on the floor, Gary stabbing himself in the head with a friggin' screwdriver going, I got to protect Superman. I got to protect Superman. I got to protect Superman. And I'm sitting here going, wait a minute here. Is it that Gary knew what Superman was supposed to do all this time, but when he saw him with the Kents and realized that the Kryptonians were wrong about Earthlings, he corrupted the file on purpose?
Gotcha.
And that kind of makes sense, but then it doesn't hold up with Supergirl unless part of Supergirl's story is, and this may be true because we know it's the reason she's an alcoholic and she has the issue she has is she was actually almost an adult when she was sent away to protect Clark and survive.
Oh,
she misses her home world. She knows what it was like, so she's dealing with that loss. What if part of the shit she's dealing with is she knows that they were supposed to come here and take over, and once she got here, she realized Earth wasn't what they thought it was.
Gotcha. I will tell you,
Supergirl has always been about how beautiful everything is, even more so than Superman. Like they play into that aspect of, the nature part. Like she was always kind of more in tune with nature and shit like that.
I will tell you, thank you for bringing that up. My last point, which I told, which I was sharing with Man of War, Supergirl pissed me the fuck off. Did. See you later, bitch, or thanks for helping me out. But I was like, fuck you. I don't know what Gunn was thinking with that.
I think everyone took that one way too serious, man. I look, here's the thing. I in LA, I deal with a lot of drunk girls. Okay. I see a lot of drunk girls. And the thing is, as a term of endearment, they call each other bitch all the time. They call their male friends bitch, but the way they say it isn't like as an insult. It's like a term of endearment, right? Like she came off like a drunk party girl because she was. Yeah. Right? She was a drunk party girl and she said, bye, bitch. I don't think she meant that personally at all.
I was like she's saying that to Superman?
Calling him a bitch. She just using the word
he
bitch.
Didn't take it in a negative
way.
The way
drunk girls call each other bitch, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah, he just kind of rolled his eyes at her. Yeah.
Is that his idea of what he's going to give us as Supergirl? Some drunk. Well,
here's the thing, man. I'm gonna be honest. I love the idea of Supergirl being a hot mess. I'll tell you why though. I'll tell you why. Because we already have Clark. We already have Cal. Right? We have Superman being Mr. Straight-laced, Mr.
Boy Scout.
Boy Scout, right? So the idea that his cousin is kind of a train wreck, it's not, but still a good person, by the way, not a villain, just kind of messy.
Yeah, but no one discussed her body count.
I don't. Yes. Oh, really? I honestly, because look, here's the thing, and you guys got to remember this: they are working on a Lobo movie too, right?
Right.
The idea that Supergirl's getting drunk with Lobo or something crazy
That
like
would
that,
be funny.
I love that idea, man. Like, I think
I am curious to
why
see what they
not?
come up with. Yeah.
But here's the problem: if she's going to be the hot mess, right? Okay. How are they going to introduce Batman, who's usually takes up the I'm the fucked up dark one?
Well, Batman's not a hot mess. He's just fucked up.
I know, but
well, and again, that goes into the Nolan, more later, Frank Miller Batman. If you go back to the Silver Age Batman, in which you've got to remember, we're doing Batman and Robin basically because they're having, his son play Robin. And maybe my theory is correct because I've said this before. This was part of the problem with Chris O'Donnell and why he's pretty much he just bypassed Robin into Nightwing because the studios said you can't have a little kid running around fighting crime. That makes Batman look like a very irresponsible person. Now, if it's his own kid, there's a little bit more room for play there, especially if we're still in this Silver Agey kind of comic booky world, to where we're not going to get a super dark Batman. We're probably going to get the blue and gray Batman.
Oh,
and that's what I
like
said.
it.
You know what I mean? I think we're going to get that Silver Age kind of Batman for one. And I don't have a problem with that. We've had so many dark Batmen. We've had so many super serious Supermen. I'm okay with this for a little while to have, a fun.
But you don't want
bright-
Batman Forever Batman, do you?
Oh, no.
Actually, yes, I wouldn't mind that too much.
Really?
It would be in that
I
vein,
mean,
but
fuck
not that
that.
kind of style. I'm talking the more 60s style.
I wouldn't mind finally a proper execution of the Dark Knight. Right to the comic book, like the 50-year-old beaten up guy.
That's what I still want.
When I was one of the things I objected to Tim Burton's movie where he stole elements of that
The Dark Knight, yeah.
Dark Knight, but then we didn't get that story. I would have been very happy to get that story as a
No, because Tim Burton just wanted to make basically an action movie with Batman in it, is what it was.
I get it, and it was fun.
Okay, so
And
Paul,
and that's where I said, just to drill real quick, to clarify what I mean by forever, like when you said that, why I said yes, is because that tone of forever, not necessarily the production design and all that kind of stuff. I'm not talking about bat nipples and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the actual tone, that is leaning in closer to the original tone of Batman. Like the 60s series, I know people look at
You're
it as
talking
camp.
about 66 then.
Yeah, but not necessarily that. But I'm talking more like Batman, the animated series, where they finally nailed that era and go, here, this is Batman. And they made it a little more serious, but it still was able to have some of the quote unquote campier elements in them. You know what I
If
mean?
you bring me Batman from the original animated series, I'd be happy. That's a pretty dark, nice.
Like, I'm not
Batman.
trying to say they're going to turn Batman into a fucking, party clown or anything like that, but I'm saying I think he's going to be more of the father figure Batman.
Right. Like I like the 66 series, but I just don't ever want to see that. I thought Batman Forever was too much like that. But okay, Paul, what was your take on Soups?
It's not a good movie. It sucks.
Okay, but underneath that, you're a professional. What?
I can't. I mean, I can't. To me, it's a hot mess. Overstuffed. It was an overstuffed hot mess that I was disappointed. I mean, I was rooting for it. I love superhero movies. I a lot of nasty comments on my video from people saying, "Oh, you're a Disney shill." Like,
oh God.
Yeah, like
Why
I've been
somebody
signed to Disney.
You shredded Disney. What are you talking about? That's too funny.
So I was disappointed in because it was just overstuffed with. It felt like, rather than taking 5 comic books, he took 50 comic books. And I'm not an expert on Superman, but I didn't believe in the quantum realm. I hated that moment with the million monkeys. I
didn't like that fucking either.
I got the trapped in cubes. I knew he was going to get out. I figured out how he was going to do it, and maybe more than anything else, as a writer, I'm going, okay, he's got to get out of that situation where the engineer and Ultra dude or whatever, what's it, Ultraman, they've got him, and he rockets up into space. Why? To get out of oxygen, to freeze them in space, and she's shoving her shit down his lungs, and then he zooms back down to earth and smashes, and then that's how he gets out, and she's dead or not dead, and I'm going, what part of the challenge with writing is the setup is going to be the same for Westerns, for John Wick style movies, and your goal as a writer is to just come up with the one twist, because everyone's audience expectations are the same. We've all been through it. Or he's got this situation. He's got to get out of it. Okay, what is going to be the great Superman trick that he just outsmarts everybody and gets? And no, he just like shoots up into the space and smashes.
But you know what I will say though, I did find it. I was surprised, Paul. I hear what you're saying. I was surprised. I found that to be imaginative. The way Gunn, not the flying up, using her nano, whatever the fuck you call him, to try to choke him out. I thought that besides kryptonite,
that I thought was great.
I thought that was very interesting of Gunn to come up with.
I was looking forward to the superhero, because in the cartoons, he really does come up with clever ways to get out of these problems, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see that. I don't
know. I mean, I get what you're saying. He could have maybe come up with something a little bit more comic booky, but I thought, like flying up to try and basically freeze them and then slam them into the ground, knowing he's the only one protected. That's kind of smart. And then the same. True, but at the same time, he also knew he was smart enough to figure out that Ultraman was being controlled by Lex, and so he had Crypto go after the cameras. And he knew.
I get it. It just
and I get it. It's not as fun as you wanted it to.
And all the fighting in the proton soup reminded me.
I hated that. I said that was too. It
reminded me of the overwrought battle between in the Guardians of the Galaxy when what's his name was fighting his dad Ego. And I really enjoyed the second Guardians of Galaxy, until that
totally different movie.
That final battle, which was just this CG battle, and I found so many. I did not believe a single, or I was not emotionally invested in a single one of the battles.
There you go, emotionally invested. That's why I said it felt to me like this was Marvel take on DC. That's what I felt.
I can see that, and I mean, I have other nitpickings too. And the quick.
I didn't like the flight. I did like Snyder's show of the way he showed Superman flying better than Gunn's. I
liked Gunn's. I didn't have. I didn't.
I don't like with the camera zoomed up on his head. I don't know.
Yeah, but Snyder to me had too much shaky cam and shit too. I mean, it wasn't much different. I agree with some of the CGI because there was some dodgy CGI in this movie.
Yeah. It was just one of the biggest. It was just
and then
you know what I really hated? I'm sorry. The thing I hated the most was Lex Luthor calling out
the shots. What the
52.
I liked that. I'm sorry. I thought it was cool.
LJ.
It's like a video game.
What was it? Battleship he was playing? He couldn't make an AI.
No. Well, I mean, yeah. What could you have had him do? Otherwise, what's your other option is to have him sit in a fucking chair with like literal video game stuff. In this way, it makes him at least sound like he's calling the shots and he's got all these other guys doing all the work for him.
Yeah, but the whole telemetry.
I didn't have a problem with that.
I did. I just thought. I've seen Lex Luthor better in the cartoons.
I loved Lex in this.
It's a really tough thing. And my number one most hated thing was the text exposition at the very beginning. 300 years ago, metahumans on the Earth. What?
Yeah, that was kind of interesting.
The Mascarans.
I didn't read that in any
the
of the
Mascarans.
Yeah,
and
that didn't bother me. I didn't care. It didn't bother me.
Don't tell me plot points and the fact that at the very beginning, please show me Superman doing something super, like anything, opening a jar of pickles for an old woman. Like, like something.
Instead of getting his ass beat. Yeah, I see what you I got you.
Well, we don't actually see him get his ass beat. He comes back and then he fights more, and you know, he actually saves some people and does some things right after that. So I mean,
but in text it says he gets defeated in this thing in Mordovia by the metal.
yeah, we didn't even see it. We just saw the aftermath, right? Like that's my point.
Yeah, I would have loved.
And I don't disagree with you. The tell not show thing, like, yeah, that's a problem. But I get what Gunn is doing here. Is he set the two events that are like setting this whole story off happen off screen, right?
I agree.
The war that he stops and the first fight that Superman loses. Like those two things happen off screen. You're not wrong.
I feel like there's a movie we're missing with him. Like we came into the second one.
That's what I've said, and I get it. But then if we had an origin story all over again, then we'd be sitting here having the same conversation. So, like, yeah,
I don't want an origin story.
But I also agree that the movie needed some time to breathe because, and this is probably because they forced him to cut it down as much as they did, and whether it was forced or he felt the need to cut it down. Because even Paulie pointed out, like, you know what, we may have want that extra 20 minutes, but at the same time, maybe that 20 minutes was dragging the film down. He could be right. We do know that one of the things that was cut out was like the beating scene of the dog for heaven's sake. Like, who needs to see that? Like, we get the gist, right?
Even though they kind of really showed it when she wrapped him up.
No, but like I guess there was an actual scene where Ultraman kicks and punches Crypto, and that's what Miss Tessmacher's talking about when she's talking to Jimmy in the alley, and she's like, yesterday Lex tortured a dog, and he's like, Jesus Christ. Like,
that was plot armor. The girl who confesses to Jimmy, I really didn't like that.
Oh no, that's Miss Tessmacher and a half, man. That's straight up out of the original film.
Fine.
Yeah, because she helped Superman. Yeah,
because she goes
Superman and Donners.
And the other final thing was Ma and Pa Kettle.
There wasn't enough of them. I liked them.
I had a problem. I had a problem with them too.
How more stupid, hayseed could they have made Superman's parent, earthly parents? Holy smokes, these two were stupid.
Jimmy was awesome. I think there wasn't enough of them. Jimmy, for the first time, I really liked since George Reeves' television series.
And you know who? And of the entire cast, White. Editor, you
liked him?
I did not. I went, wow, this is
they wasted him, and that is a brilliant fucking actor who's been in The Wire. But
here's the two things I think that got.
Anyway,
yeah,
so
I think the things that got
I
sacrificed in the edit were probably the Kents and the Daily Planet stuff. That's the things that probably got excised the most. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, wait, the other thing too for me though is I don't know, man. I was okay with the dog in the beginning. By the end of it, I hated Crypto. I don't ever want to see this dog ever again. I don't.
Because they overused it. See, you got to use something sparingly. I liked him in the beginning, but it was like, okay, I get it. Crypto's bad.
Stupid. We had a bull terrier, very difficult to train. Our dog was smarter than Crypto. Like for
right. Well, that's because we find out why at the end, and that's why I didn't have such a problem with his behavior. But I do agree that the dog was maybe in the film just a tad too much.
It was too much. It was.
I mean, in that respect, and my only issue other than that was that CGI animals never quite look good outside of dinosaurs. They've been able to figure out dinosaurs because we've never seen them, but like, yeah.
And the monkeys. Fuck the monkeys.
We've talked about trying to find black superheroes and don't switch out white superheroes and put black, substitutes in them. I never heard of Mr. Terrific. I loved Mr. Terrific.
Yeah, he was awesome. Yeah,
I thought he was great. I would watch a movie with Mr. Terrific. I mean, actually,
well, by the way,
with the Justice Gang.
Well, guess what? Since you're saying that, I was going to say this to Wednesday, but they're saying that Gunn is getting the green light to do a Mr. Terrific television series for HBO Max and a Jimmy Olsen series separately. It came out this morning. All right. I love Mr. Terrific. I didn't like Hawkgirl. I thought she looked cool, but that fucking scream after the first time, I'm like, okay, I get it. I know it's in the I don't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah, I wanted to know her body
already.
Actually, it's not even the comic. She doesn't do that in the comic. So they James Gunn added that for some reason.
Okay, because that was annoying as hell. Like,
I will say this though. He at least let some of the women, not Lois necessarily, but some of the women be sexy, which was finally it was a breath of fresh air, right? Like,
Lois is appropriately dressed for the most part.
They were hot.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't,
was
the only thing I didn't like about Lois was when she had those skater pants on, but like everybody's overlooking everything else she had on. So like
I didn't like the boots she wore. We're like, what the
But
hell?
here's the thing is like people always for some reason keep thinking this idea of like Lois is either this glamorous sex pot or something like that. It's like, no, Lois has never been that outside of Lois and Clark because they put Terry Hatcher in there and she was wearing like, designer shit. Margot Kidder was no sex pot.
She was pretty.
She's pretty, but she's pretty in that unconventional, like
She was no sex pot.
Yeah,
No,
she was in that country girl kind of way. Like that's where she kind of looked like. But again, look at the way she was dressed in that movie. Outside of when she's in that that baby doll nightgown, like everything else in it, she's wearing is pretty 70s. You go back to the original Lois Lane from the George Reeves show. She literally wears the same fucking thing in every fucking episode. It's the long ass skirt, the dress shirt top thing, like, whatever, and the beret. Yeah, everything that every female reporter was wearing back in that time, right? So Lois has never been this overly glamorous character. Like now Kat and those other characters, Miss Tessmacher, they've been more of the sex pot, sex kitten type roles, to where Lois has always kind of had a nose for news. And the reason that her and Superman clicked is because Superman was the first guy in the world to ever get her fucking attention. Yeah. See, that's the thing most people don't understand, is she was always just kind of her own thing, and that's why she's never had a real great dating life, is because she's always so sucked up in her own career that Superman's the first guy to actually make her feel weak in the fucking knees. Right, like that's kind of their thing. So, and that's where I have never had a problem with like the dumpier kind of version of Lois. I hate using that term, but that's kind of what we got here.
Who was the girl in the push-up bra at the Daily Planet?
That was Kat Grant. Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to read the super chats and we're out of here. Because we have some Superman questions too. Eric K. He gifted 10 George the Giant Slayer memberships. Bless you. My brother from another mother. Eric K. Thank you for that, please. Everybody. I know he gave it at the beginning. I didn't want to just interrupt the conversation, but please thank Eric K. for that. King of the mods and wonderful human being. Jill Powers, the River Daughter. Always great to see you, Jill. Member for 6 months. My youngest stepson and his wife are having a baby. Mazel tov. Congratulations. That's a beautiful thing.
Wow.
Beautiful thing. Wonderful. TGV Monster gifted 1 George the Giant Slayer memberships. Thank you, TGV Monster. Your support keeps the lights on, helps us grow the channel. I love it. Thank you. Flying blind on a rocket cycle for $3. Sent in a super sticker. Very much appreciated. It's to Phobos for $2. For me, it was realizing the media was lying. That's when you were talking about walking away, when Brandon was saying like what inspired him to walk away. Thank you for that. Torgo the White for $2. Woke in the streets, colonized in the sheets. Oh, yeah.
Well, speaking of Brandon, it really sucks that we didn't get to cross over Superman with what we were talking about with him, because, yeah, what we saw in real time in this last week was, the media making up lies about Superman.
Yep.
Right. And running with it. And we did a report on it. So I suggest people check it out if they hadn't already, where, it's really this Zaslow derangement syndrome. I mean, we kind of touched, I think, a little bit on it, but not as much as I would have liked.
Likes both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I can never pronounce the name.
Ta-Nehisi.
Ta-Nehisi coach would have fucked that up just by the
more than that.
Yeah.
I mean,
he would have made one of the most racist Superman movies you've ever seen.
And anti-Semitic.
Yeah, he's
anti-white, anti-Semitic.
He's a clown.
Piece of shit.
And the left love him.
I know. That's because of his first book, which won a Pulitzer and won every other award under the sun.
That book was filled with so many errors and garbage and nonsense. I mean,
he rewrites history. It's just Mark of Reality for $5. We need a campy Batman and Robin. Campy. Well, how campy? But not Tim Burton Redux and Grant Gustin as a campier Flash. Like, what kind of campy, Mark? You got to give me like a zone here, like animated.
See, yeah, campy is a tough word to deal with, because like actual camp, means basically you're doing kind of like satire, but it's more like you're doing it straight, right, Paul? Am I right in that?
Yeah, I mean, again, you have to be careful that you're not camping something else that was campy. So a lot of people, when they think of campy, think of the 1960s Batman. So you don't want to
That's
imitate
what I think. That's what I think when I hear campy Batman.
Well, that was campy. And I don't know how much more campy you can make it.
Or
No,
I
you can
think
only
of
take
Batman
it back a
Forever.
bit.
Or I think of Batman Forever as ultra
I
cringe.
think what the and maybe Gunn was trying to do this, and I'm not a expert on Superman, but Marvel in particular, of which I'm a much bigger I have a much bigger knowledge base, is that one of the beauties of the comics was that sometimes you'd have an artist take over a run. So it would become that artist's vision of Spider-Man, of She-Hulk, of the Fantastic Four, and they would literally change during the run of that artist. And none of the studios are following that. They could say, we're not necessarily making it, and I mean, to tell you the truth, I love the look of the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four look reminds me more of a run of the Fantastic Four, even if it's not a duplicate of any. It's more reminiscent of the cartoon show, not of any of the comics. But I would rather they do that and have it bookended. Here we're having, like, bring back Iron Man. We're going to do the 60s era of Iron Man. We're going to do the, Kirby version of Spider-Man, not the McFarlane version. And if you communicate that to the audience, I think the studios could very easily convince people that, we're going to do 3 movies based on this style. This one's going to be campy. This one's going to be, a McFarlane style. I would completely accept that, but the studios aren't going in that direction.
What you're talking about is the old school way, and I think a lot of that, especially for comic books, the problem with that is the studio system really wanted to start doing like this synergistic thing with keeping everything under a certain umbrella, and you no longer could, like, even things like Bond, right? Like it's really tough to kind of do that now in a world where, like, people are so hung up on these certain things. It's like, that was where I had a major meltdown over Flash. I'm like, you can't have George Clooney show up in the same movie you already had Michael Keaton in. I don't give a fuck what you're saying about multiverses. They were the same fucking guy, because that's the way movies used to work. That doesn't change just because you're deciding to play with multiverses. That makes absolutely no fucking sense.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But no, and I agree with you, and I hope maybe that's where we're going to get out of this DC universe with Gunn, is he's going to allow, because that's kind of what he's been saying, is he's going to allow the people that are going to be working on these projects to kind of put their own voices into it more, and it's not going to be more so like he's going to try and dictate it like Feige was, is what it sounds like to me. I could be wrong. But like, look at the situation we have already. You already have stuff like Peacemaker, which is obviously very R-rated, right? You already have Creature Commandos, which I think is I haven't seen it, but people are telling me it's a little bit different tone. But it's a different tone, right? Like, so I think he's going to allow things to take on their own tone in their own universe, but they can still coexist. And it doesn't matter if they're R-rated or a little bit darker or a little bit more serious, maybe a little bit more gorier. Or look at even the Suicide Squad, which is de facto probably now part of this universe.
The trailer for Peacemaker 2 looks hilarious.
All right, let me get through these. Walter White Walker for $2. I like the nod to Superman 3 with the nanobites.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I think a lot of people who actually appreciate Superman 3 will love this movie. And I'm one of those people who love Superman 3 because it's like a comic book come to life.
I like Superman 3. Blitzen gifted 5 Georgia Giant Slayer memberships. Bless you, Blitzen. Thank you. Always here, every show. Always so supportive. Thank you very much, my friend. Please go thank Blitzen. We also got Eric K for another $5. The question is for the panel is, what would your 12-year-old self think of the Superman movie? That's totally different. If I was 12, probably enjoy it a lot more. Yeah, even though I've seen it 3 times, I don't know how many more I would say it. Probably seen it a lot more. Thank you. That's a good question. Good question. Great question.
I think 12-year-olds would love it, probably.
Yeah. The thing is I find funny is that Man of Steel has beat it domestically, but not globally. It's like,
it's with all the inflation and the difference in cost, that's going to be like, I unfortunately don't like that they're comparing the two outside of their Superman films, because we're talking almost 2 different animals. We don't know the budget.
I know, but what I'm just saying is that on just with the numbers they've shown domestically, it's doing Man of Steel did 128. This is at 122, but globally, Superman 2025 is at 222, I think, and then Superman Man of Steel was at 202, 200, and I was like,
Man of Steel also came out the year after Avengers did too. People forget that.
Yeah, so I wonder if this is good. What do y'all think, just really quick, because I want to get through these. You think it's going to hit 600, 700 million? It's going to pass it? Superman of Steel?
I think it has a shot.
Yep.
What do you guys think?
Not
You know
if
what,
there's
man?
numbers up there.
I feel like we'll know more in the second week. Like I can't tell right now.
Their international numbers suck.
Yeah. What about you, Tom? You think it'll hit the same money as me? Because if they say it's a success at Man of Steel, and I mean, if they say that if it hits the same numbers as Man of Steel, and they call it a roaring success, but they said Man of Steel was not back then what the fuck?
The big difference is, and this is what I've been trying to tell people, is they spent, from what we know, like that's the thing, we've got so many numbers floating all over the place, but from what I was told from my sources, which have been pretty goddamn spot on, is that this movie costs somewhere between 180 and 200 to actually produce,
plus
and they've got 100 in advertising. Now, here's the thing we got to remember about advertising, and I bring this up even when it's Disney and other places. When they give us an advertising amount, they're also counting in what they figure the value is of, say, like, Milkbone has crypto on their boxes right now. So they'll probably put
dollars. I didn't know that. I thought it was dollars spent. 100 million.
What they'll figure is, okay, so yeah, they maybe spent, like, let's say, I'm just throwing numbers out there, I don't know for sure, so just take this as theoretical. Let's say they spent an actual physical $60 million on the advertising, but they're also figuring in they've got $40 million worth of advertising in Milkbone and whatever else, the Krispy Kremes and all the other Superman stuff you got out there right now where they're promoting it with it. See, because it's not like Warner Brothers is paying Krispy Kreme to promote Superman. No. It's the other way around, more or less. They basically have this advertising deal where Krispy Kreme gets the ability to advertise Superman and put that on their shit, and that's basically, they're figuring it's almost for free, or they pay to have that. Like, I remember the big deal was when I worked at Taco Bell, we had this thing that came down from corporate that following the disasters that were the Star Wars prequels and Godzilla 98, that Taco Bell would no longer be paying out to do these promotions for movies because they paid an ungodly amount to do the Star Wars prequels and shit, to have the exclusive access to that shit. And so they paid them.
Wow,
so like they're like, we're not doing this anymore, because after Godzilla they really got screwed.
I remember that.
So we got stuck with so much Godzilla stuff after that. Like, it was
I
crazy.
can imagine.
So like, you got to remember that a lot of times these promotions, what they'll do is they'll figure, okay, so the value of that is this, and then they'll put that down, because this is the other thing with that tax return. And I'm looking at that tax thing or whatever that they put out there. It's like, you do realize that the amount that they put for the movie, what they're spending, is almost exactly what they figure that they're putting in for advertising and all that shit all in. Gotcha. So they're just putting that amount down. They put the maximum amount down, and this is what Mikey said. And that way they can benefit from every tax advantage they can. So my guess is, at the end of the day, all in with what they've spent, that 225 to 300 range is probably likely. But you guys got to also remember, back in 2013, they spent almost $250 million just making Man of Steel, and spent another $150 million to $200 million on advertising. Again, factor in, stuff that they got from promotional deals. So that's where there's probably that $50 million variance in there.
Okay.
So you're talking a lot more money that was spent on a movie, 10 years ago as opposed to now. So this movie has a less of a hurdle to get over. But don't get me wrong. Yes, this movie has to make $600 or $700 million. Now, that being said, I think it has the possibility, because from what I've heard, they're going to keep this movie in theaters for at least 60 days. I've heard November is when it's probably going to come out on video. Well, so that being said, that's going to have a while to stay on and play in theaters, as to where Jurassic World, which is its main competition right now, because internationally, that's what's kicking its ass.
Yeah, August 1st is the only movie coming out.
But guess what happens August 5th? Jurassic World goes to video on demand. Guess what happens as soon as it goes on video on demand?
Yeah.
It's available everywhere in 4K HD on your piracy sites and everything like that. So nobody's going to go see Jurassic World after that. That's where, if Fantastic Four fails, there's a possibility that Superman could play out the rest of the summer, especially internationally. So at that point, it may just squeak by with like $600-700 million. It could do better. We'll have to see how the second weekend does, like Verbal said. There's a lot that goes into this that people never factor into these
I agree. I agree with everything you said there. I think Fantastic Four is going to shit the bed anyway. Connor Dorian, parentheses Charlie Mangs for $5. What they did with Superman parents from Krypton was done in Smallville season 2. I didn't know that. Thank you. I only watched Smallville for like 6 or 7 episodes of the first season. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
What's the best Superman TV series?
TV.
The animated series.
No, not the animated.
I George Reeves and then Lois and Clark.
No. I mean, like Smallville, Lois and Clark. Like
Probably Lois and Clark.
I like the Lois.
I haven't seen the new one.
The Tyler Hoechlin one. What's the name of that, Dante?
Superman and Lois.
Superman and Lois.
Yeah, that is awesome.
That is probably the best one.
Awesome.
Because that's the one where they actually give Superman stakes.
Yes. It's very good.
Okay, so Superman and Lois.
I did like a lot of Smallville because they brought a lot of the stuff from the comics that had never gotten any attention. But a lot of the times what the problem was is they turn it into like a teen drama, right? Or a monster of the week kind of thing. And it would just, there were certain elements and aspects of it I didn't like. But I should check out this Superman and Lois show, I guess.
You're going to like it if you love it.
But otherwise, my favorite iteration has and always will be probably the 1990s animated series. That was made by the same people who did the Batman animated series. So yeah,
I like that too.
And that to me is probably the best version because that takes like all of the versions of Superman and kind of makes a really good kind of amalgamation. And this movie has a lot of that series tone, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I like it. So
Superman,
and that was a spin-off of that. So yeah.
Brian with an eye for $20. Superman alternate ending. The Justice Gang finds out Jor-El's message was in fact a fabrication. Cut to the man that threw the can at soups getting chased down the street by a giant soup can construct. I like that. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Jeremiah Ombre for $5. Does this give enough to keep James Guns of co-CEO DC? I don't know. We're gonna have to see how much it makes. I think they're all in. I think they're all in.
They were expecting 115, so that tells you 115 was the lowest amount that the studio was willing to accept on this. The fact that they exceeded that, at least by a little bit, is enough to probably say, yeah, this is going to be continuing for a while, at least through the 5-year when his deal's up. For now, we'll see how Supergirl goes too, but yeah.
Accident Seller for 50 Norwegian Kroner. Star Trek The Next Generation pilot episode. Yep. Q holds a trial to judge humanity. Picard confronts Q. They're not responsible for the sins of the forefathers. The left is Q now. Ooh, I like that.
But they have to pay reparations to Q.
They do. That's too funny. And we have a couple of more. Berg Flicka for $20. Thanks for the compilation of Ziegler Insight. Oh, for today's video.
Weird.
With all that's going on, it's a nice break. Don't forget, school boards and voting at the local level is where it all starts. Hope everyone's having a great week. Thank you, Berg Flicka. Always good to see you. I appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed the video. I'm finishing off the video for the Texas flood and Sadie Perkins because I'm going to scorch the shit out of her till she can't fucking eat. Despise that bitch. Mr. Hardcore Mode for $10. I'm black and getting told you ain't black by black women was annoying. Then Obama says last election that something is up with the brothers. I'm so done with the left. Okay. I appreciate that. I'm sure I don't know if Verbal does or doesn't.
That didn't help Kamala at all when Barack, hopped on stage and started berating black men for not supporting her. So
yeah, and he's making do you know he's doing it? Him and Michelle are now executive producing a television series with the guy's name Larry David.
Larry David, yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yep, they're producing it. It's going to be ready, I think.
It's a sketch comedy show.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I don't think they have any influence on it other than that they're producing it. It's all Larry David. It's all his.
Okay, I was worried. Like the Obamas are going to be right.
It has nothing to do with Obamas. It has nothing to do with politics. I mean, not really. I mean, it's making fun of politics actually. So,
thank you, Mr. Hardcore Mode. What were you going to say, Paul?
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
No, it actually does.
I like
Plus,
Larry David.
I trust Larry David, man. He knows how to do funny. So.
Oh yeah, he does. Dyrus for $5, missing a huge piece of the history of activism in the U.S. Feminism is the movement where Marxist ideology found its roots in the U.S. I'm working on a monologue actually about feminism. It's going to be done in a few months.
Well, you have, a lot of knowledge, personal knowledge about it.
Thank you. I appreciate the love.
I'm never inviting you again, Paul.
No, always. The mighty hump for €2. What if your culture does not recognize pronouns? I like that.
Well, in Hungarian, there are none. And he and she are all the same pronoun. It's So that's it. I mean,
I like that.
It's going to be. There's no DEI in Hungary. It's so refreshing. Let me tell you, it was one of the best parts of this trip.
Oh, cool. You got to tell me about that another day.
I will. We do.
It's the Phobos for $2. The exact same for, to me, but very fine people. He's talking about, again, what helped him change his mind. Talitha34 became a YouTube member. Thank you for joining us. Can't wait to see you at the member stream. And the very last one, Tender Warrior 68, gifted 5 Georgia Giant Slayer memberships. Please go thank Tender Warrior. Oh, you are beautiful people. Thank you for the support. Can't do it without you. All right, gentlemen. We're going around verbal. What do you got coming up? Where can everybody find you? You're muted. You're muted. There you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. So you guys can find me Verbal Riot on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Catch my show on Thursdays at 6 p.m. PST. And you can always find me on Film Thread on Mondays as well, talking about probably Superman again.
Hey,
I feel like I've been talking about Superman for like the past 3 months. It feels like so, but yeah, catch me there, and we'll have another special guest this Thursday's working that out. Thanks for you guys who watched last week with Ashton. We had a good time. Things got a little heated, a little political, but all in good fun. So
always, Paul, what do you got coming up? Where can everybody find you?
You can find me at Call Me Chato. I'm slowly ramping things at Call Me Chato. Yeah, I'm slowly ramping things up. I'm going to be doing an appalling news.
Sweet, love it.
But you know what? I'm just working for fun, and that's whatever comes my way.
Awesome. Please go sign up to all these amazing gentlemen. Now we go to Tom from Midnight's Edge After Dark. What you got coming up?
Hi there. I am the King Shill of Warner Brothers Media and David Zaslav and James Gunn, I guess, and I want my check. So you can send it to me.
I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Why do they call people shill when they like something? Shills is a very specific thing.
It's very specific. It's crazy, man. Here's the thing. None of us have gotten shit for liking anything. So yeah.
I would even get invited to that thing that all those YouTubers got invited to.
Yeah, no, dude,
so yeah.
I mean, trust me, if we were shilling, I'd be wearing a Superman shirt right now.
Right? I have several.
The hat, the cape, I'd be doing the whole thing.
No, I'm not a shill. Not a shill. No one's a shill. Tom's not a shill. No one's here to show. All right, gentlemen. I did think this was funny from the White House when they put that up yesterday.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a Trump allegory. I'll say it, whether it was intended or not.
All right,
that's just a troll.
It is, of course. They know how to. He knows how to troll. We'll talk about that this week on Slayer Unchained, and Faffle will probably do that.
Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for inviting me.
God, I love having you here. Always love to have you all the time. Please, everybody, go thank our incredible moderator. I never call them out, and I should do that more at the end. Lord Thoth, incredible gentleman, and Eric K, King of the Mods. And our producer, Fletcher Williams. He was here. He just had to go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your support. You're all beautiful and blessed. Remember, we never bow down. We never bend the knee. Have a blessed week. Always forward. See you next time.